Hello everyone, welcome to the Shonen Jump fighting game roster stream. I was playing Like a Dragon 8. Hi everyone. They were talking about Fortnite, so I muted momentarily. This is going great. Let me mute. Let me just disable the desktop real quick so that I don't spoil any roster choices because I haven't opened this PSD yet. There should be no more issues anymore. Everything is fine. I hope you all are having a good morning. Sorry about the technical difficulties. It's like with a steel chair. Alright. I'm undeafening. Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Slick.
Alright, let us know if the music is too loud. I just threw on the Silver Case and 25th Ward soundtrack.
We have a soundtrack for this. It's the one that
Yeah, I was gonna say though, I imagine because Link usually uses iTunes to stream the music. They're like they probably just want to use the.
Let's see. Alright.
Excuse me. I imagine Slink just wants to use iTunes for the stream because it's higher quality. So
it's higher quality, and also it lets me have the funny thing in the bottom right where you can see what song is playing right now.
True, and it also lets you it also lets you like not have to worry about, because I did put this playlist together, but even though I kind of went over it with a little bit of fine-tooth comb, I'm still not entirely certain that the Yu-Gi-Oh games, like the Yu-Gi-Oh mobile game specifically, and two of the songs from these Bleach games are not going to trip copyright.
Fair enough. Yeah, maybe make the music a little quieter. Oh, you might have already done that actually.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, we're going to be starting off with Nintenjack's roster. You want to give a little bit of a speak about what this is? Because this is the only stream that exists now, so anything that you might have said last time, you got to say again.
Yes, so this is the first stream. Welcome to the stream, guys. This is our next roster stream. We're going to be doing Shonen Jump. There's a lot of Shonen Jump fighting games. We did that poll on the channel and settled on a 3v3 Dragon Ball Fighterz style fighting game for this one. It should be all fun and games. So we're gonna have 45 characters, the last 9 of which we counted as DLC, so 36 in the base game, 9 for DLC. Slink is here to host, to cover for my incompetent ass, but
I want the record straight. I did warn him about this.
I tested, and it was fine yesterday. But I guess maybe I needed a test for a little longer. Maybe, or I'm just going to blame Tekken 8 and me playing Tekken 8 right before this stream on my computer.
Yeah.
Wearing it down. But okay. So yeah, we got 45 characters. It'll be me going first, followed by Creeks, and then Huff will be going last. Slink has all our files. They've all been numbered. You can probably see Slink, but you need to start with 1 from mine and work upwards because I did them upside down, like on the layers. But yeah, I don't want to waste any more time. So yeah, number 1, put him up there. It's obviously the boy of Shonen Jump, the mascot. I know everyone is always like Goku, but honestly, One Piece is the series now for Shonen Jump stuff. He's got the most popular selling manga of all time. He's pirate, which is what the old Shonen Jump one was. He's gonna have to be there, isn't he? Like the old Shonen Jump logo was a pirate. Luffy's a pirate. He's taken over. He's the first one now, and so started with that. But yeah, he's just an obvious pick, and there's going to be quite a few obvious picks in this one. But we'll be sticking with One Piece for a bit. So if we go to the second one, yes. So up next on the One Piece train, we have Blackbeard, who is one of the main antagonists of One Piece, and Blackbeard. The problem with One Piece is that, and going for the Straw Hats, is that there's like 10 of them. And for a fighting game crossover like this, you can't really get away with doing that. That's why other games have sort of pick and choose. Like Jump Force, I know, has Zoro and Sanji in it. But J-Stars, I'm pretty sure, only had Luffy, and instead went for like Hancock and Akainu and Ace and stuff like that.
Yeah, J-Stars came out around the same time that the anime adaptation of Marineford was coming out, right? So they chose characters that were prominent in that arc.
Yes, and there is a reason why I've gone for Luffy and Blackbeard. Blackbeard obviously has a cool power system and all that, but there's a reason I've gone for these two and not any of the other Straw Hats. And the third, it'll become obvious after the final One Piece choice, but the third choice should give a big hint as to why. So if you want to bring that up, Slink, it's him. It is Buggy D Clown, the next antagonist in the series. Yes. I have a theme. There'll be 4. Yeah, I already posted the new YouTube link on Source Gaming. Or I actually just replaced the old one. So the one on there should link to the new one anyway. Yes, I've got Luffy, Blackbeard, and Buggy. If you know the theme, you know. You can see where it's going. But you'll have to wait a bit to get me to confirm this. But Buggy hasn't been in a Jump crossover game yet, and that's a real shame. His power moveset is pretty cool. I think it could work pretty well in a 2D in a 2D fighter. So yeah, we're gonna have Buggy. But for now, we're gonna take a step away from One Piece and go on to the fourth option. Yep, it's the other one you'd have all expected to have on here. It's Goku. So, just like Luffy, Goku is a character that you kind of have to have on a roster like this, right? Like the guy from Fortnite. He's the first one. They could just use. We already know how he'll play thanks to Dragon Ball Fighterz. So you'll have to just so it's pretty easy to tell. I was thinking. We obviously didn't establish any moves or like not moves, that's not the right word, gimmicks or anything for this game. But I like to envision that with so many shonen characters having a transformation power, that would be a big part of this game. With like specifically like a transformation button, a temporary second powered up version. Kind of like how Tekken now has the heat mechanic now that I'm thinking about it. So like Goku, whether or not I think you'd play as like Super Saiyan Goku and then turn Super Saiyan Blue as the transformation. For Luffy, it would obviously be like Gear 5, and not everyone has to have a transformation. Blackbeard and Buggy don't exactly have one, but I like to think that there's a transformation like button, yeah, like an awakening sort of thing, an awakened state. So Goku would turn Super Saiyan Blue for that. I thought about doing Ultra Instinct because that's obviously the newest one. Ultra Instinct's obviously a bit weird because you don't go from Super Saiyan to Ultra Instinct, you go from base form Goku to Ultra Instinct Goku. And I don't know, I think Super Saiyan Blue technically debuted in a Dragon Ball Z movie before Super came along, whereas the Ultra Instinct's obviously a Dragon Ball Super original. So keeping it within Z, which is a Shonen Jump property, whereas Super is a V Jump series, it gets a bit mixed up, and I think you have to have the base Super Saiyan in some way. So I decided to go with that direction. And
actually, Nan, you saying that makes me remember that we forgot to talk about something, I believe, earlier. Something that we're actually probably going to have to clarify multiple times throughout this stream.
Right. Yes, you're right.
We are not doing any of the. There's probably going to be a lot of questions asking things like, where is Spy Family, where is Kaiju no 8, and where is Jigo Karaku on our rosters. We are not doing, or like Blue Exorcist or the like, we're not doing any manga that debuted in Jump Plus, the mobile app, V Jump, or Ultra Jump, or Jump Square, like the other Shueisha Jump themed like magazines or publishing. Anything that started in Weekly Shonen Jump and moved away, like JoJo's or Chainsaw Man, is still available. Including even some properties that started in Shonen Jump and ran in Jump for a long time and have now moved to other publishers. Because Jump is still able to get a decent amount of those for their crossover games, but they are, because the licensing for these games is so insane to begin with, because each of these franchises are partially owned by their original creator, not just Shueisha and the TPC, the Pokemon Company style company that is created to manage the merchandising and licensing rights for these franchises. So we're not doing we are not doing anything from the other magazines. We are very sorry. No, Undead Unluck runs in Weekly Shonen Jump. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's as we. Yeah, Shaman King is no. So Shaman King is the one exception to this rule. Shaman King is not owned by Weekly Shonen Jump at all anymore.
Actually,
I believe.
Nan, I wanted to mention that I don't think any of us have Yo, but literally during the period of time that we were making these rosters, they added Yo as one of the final characters to Jump Hootie Heroes before it goes down in March.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they can also still do Yo.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I figured Shaman King was completely off the table, although you're right, there is no Shaman King in this, at least in my roster.
Yeah.
Sounds like it'll be the same. Yeah, so Black Clover and D Greyman, that's all fine. Anything that started in Weekly Shonen Jump is A-okay, but not stuff that started in V Jump or Young Jump or Jump Plus or whatever the Shoujo Jump is called.
Here's a good rule of thumb. Did it start in Weekly Shonen Jump and run in it for at least a year? It's probably good, unless it's Mazinger.
Yeah.
Shout out to Iconic Series Claymore, who ran in Shonen Jump for exactly 1 month. And it wasn't even at the beginning. Like, randomly it just
it was in the middle, because their previous adult magazine shut down.
Oh yeah, it did. I think that's the one that had like a bunch of gaming. I think it had the Fire Emblem manga in that one, actually. Yeah. There's a Fire Emblem manga that's owned by Shueisha. But
I love Fire Emblem Engage.
Yeah, that's probably all we needed to cover on this. We can go ahead and move on with the roster now.
And the next choice after Goku's a pretty obvious one, so Slink can just throw him up. Is Vegeta, and all the same things I said about Goku apply to Vegeta: Super Saiyan form, Super Saiyan Blue form. Didn't want to do his Super Ego form or whatever its official name is called, his eyebrowless form that he has now, because that's a relatively new thing that's not even been animated yet. No, saying One Punch Man doesn't count for this.
There's different brands like monthly, weekly. It has to have run in weekly, and One Punch Man started as a web comic, and then had its adaptation in American Jump, which is monthly.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, so Vegeta is the next one, and that's for now anyway. That's it for Dragon Ball. I've only done the 2, so we can move on to the next series, which is another common one you'd expect to see here. Oh.
Damn, Manton, you're not including iconic Dragon Ball character Farmer with Shotgun?
Afraid. We haven't seen my DLC choices yet. Too fair.
You're right.
Not done it yet. Yeah, we got Naruto up next. Yeah, the other next obvious big one. I haven't read Boruto. I have no idea much about that series, so I don't really know what Naruto's done in it. But given that Boruto is also a V-Jump series and not a weekly Shonen Jump series,
It was weekly.
it started
weekly
weekly,
for,
but
like,
it's now
2 months.
Yeah. Shout out to iconic series Boruto, everybody's favorite. Everybody loves Boruto.
But yeah, Naruto, so it'd be part 2 Naruto, end of series part 2 Naruto, with all of the bells and whistles that provides, including his Sage Fox transformation form.
Hey, Slink, sorry. Can you make a quick edit to Nanten's roster and put this on there?
No, don't put in it. While you're doing that, you can bring up the next one. A lot of these early ones are going to be somewhat
repeated,
expected, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It appears that a correction needed to be made. Why is it so small?
It is tiny.
Why is it so?
What the hell?
What the fuck happened?
I think my file is just exceptionally big for some reason.
What the fuck? I also have an icon that says Boruto's dad's son.
Okay, I'm removing that because it'll mess up with the auto align.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted him to be there.
Just wanted him to be in there. Yeah, so Sasuke is obviously the other Naruto rep that you've got to have. And there's not really a whole lot to say about that you don't already expect. Lightning-based attacks, sword-based attacks. No, not Rasengan. Sharingan, that's the word. That's the one that Sasuke uses. Sarada's dad is also here, so... next up on the thing, and speaking of Boruto, I decided to keep him anyway. Because, like has been pointed out, Boruto was in Jump Force, and he did have 2 weeks in. I felt like, given that Boruto is the main series going on right now, I should probably keep him here as well, and keep him in this roster. I did consider putting other characters from Naruto in, like Sakura or Kakashi or Madara, although I'm not a big fan of Madara, to be honest. I decided to just keep Boruto here for the current Boruto fans in the audience. Plus, Sakura runs into a problem that a lot of characters in Weekly Shonen Jump have, is that they're all like a lot of punchy punch people with very little else to do. So, yeah, Boruto here. And then next up on the list, we have Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is obviously a series that has ended in Weekly Shonen Jump, but the anime is still ongoing. And it's pretty huge. It's a pretty big franchise, I think, and everyone can agree on that. So I had to include someone here, and Tanjiro is like a pure samurai who fights with 2 different styles. So I can easily see his water breathing stuff being the base form, and then his fire breathing or sun breathing, or I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head now, is like his awakened state in this. So I wanted to have... So Tanjiro he's also like the obvious Demon Slayer choice. But because I was thinking of this in the same way that Dragon Ball Fighterz works, that game isn't afraid to summon other characters in as part of the moveset. So I think you could probably justify having Nezuko show up for some moves, in the same way Saiyaman shows up for Fidel, or the Ginyu Force show up for Captain Ginyu as part of this. Yeah, exactly. Because originally I wanted to have Nezuko as well on the roster, and have her as a separate fighter, but I just didn't have the space for it. So I think that's a decent enough compromise. How it works, whether or not Tanjiro carries Nezuko on his back in the box and she jumps out from there, or if she just warps in like they tend to do in Dragon Ball Fighterz. Whatever works best. But yeah, I think you could easily justify having Nezuko in here as well, as part of Tanjiro's moves. But that's the only Demon Slayer character for now. Moving on, we got Deku. So we're onto My Hero Academia characters now. And Deku's thing is, initially in the beginning of My Hero Academia, starts off as like just a punchy guy. But by this point in the series, he's got like all sorts of powers. He's more like a Spider-Man, essentially. Like his black whips allow him to swing and grab onto things. He's got literal spider sense. He can create smoke screens. He's got this weird gear shift thing that I don't fully understand, if I'm going to be totally honest. But his arsenal, basically, his arsenal has gotten like way more creative, I want to say.
People always think of Deku as just like a generic punch guy, and effectively at this point in his series, he has more different and unique powers than like most other protagonists that you're gonna have.
Yeah, there's like a lot you can pull on for this one that I think would make him a very fun character to use, especially with like how like insane he currently looks in the manga. If people are up to date on that, with the black whips wrapped around him and stuff like that, you could do that as a pretty good awakened state.
Yo, I love the Punish Deku arc.
So next up, then continuing with My Hero Academia, is the other sort of obvious choice I think you need to have on this, and it's Bakugo, Explodey Explosion Man. Here for big hits and fast rush beatdowns.
Bakugan would have a really fun moveset where you more so focus on movement and using explosions to propel yourself forward. That's what I find really fun about him.
Did you just say Bakugan?
Yes, I did.
All right.
I didn't say anything because I knew it was on purpose.
Yeah. This is one of the few series I actually know shit about. So, like,
yeah.
of course I'm going to be wrong on purpose.
Now, I see a lot of people say asking whether Zuko is coming up next, or Shoto, and unfortunately he's not. He's not on this roster. I've instead gone for a slightly more controversial My Hero Academia pick coming up next, because I decided to go for Rakaka, who's the first girl on the roster. Which is...
I don't know if that one was on purpose.
I think people super underestimate Uraka. She's like she tends to get grouped, I think, a lot with characters like Sakura in the Shonen Girl problem, but I don't think she really deserves it. Like, if you actually look over the series, she's pretty active in basically every single arc, apart from maybe like one or two.
She actually does things.
Yeah, like she's has one of the major final fights in this series so far. Like, actually taking out one of the main antagonists from the villain's side. And she's pretty good at combat. Like, she has the gravity thing, which is obviously her power, but she has like an entire sort of mini character arc about learning martial arts and being great in hand-to-hand combat. And she also has a tether as well, similar to Deku's Black Whip, that she can use to grab and pull people around and swing them. So like the anti-gravity status effect into a tether grab and then throw from that is like, I think there's a lot of cool potential that you can use there in a 2D fighting game. And I think people just like, yeah, underestimate her a lot in these, mainly, and I can't blame them too much, to be honest, because it's definitely usually is the Deku Bakugo Shoto show.
Yeah.
But there are other cool choices to have.
There are a lot of unique choices that I like considered for MHA, because like there are just, I think that it lends itself to a fighting game the best out of all the series here, just because it has so many unique powers and characters. But it's really hard to justify some of those more smaller scale characters for something like this.
Yeah.
So you're kind of just stuck with like the big three: Uraraka, Shigaraki, and then
All Might gets used.
Yeah, All
sometimes,
Might.
but All Might is also basically just a punchy punch guy.
Yeah.
Just a very hard hitting one.
He does have the distinction, actually, of being very large, which...
Yes, that's true.
Which, though we do have Blackbeard, who is very large.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to make sure that we... like, acknowledge the great bit that Voyager posted in chat. She is the first female character on the roster, but the 6th character voiced by a woman. It's true.
This is true. This is true. But yeah, so I went for Uraraka here. So we're off of My Hero Academia for now. The next one is the big Shonen Jump series that's popular right now, and it's Jujutsu Kaisen. So if we are going to have a punchy punch guy, I think it's Yuji is it, right? Like,
My
Yuji...
boy, that's him Todori.
He hits so hard, you get the impact twice, or sometimes delayed, depending on how he feels. Like, that's basically what his entire thing is about. Charging up and going in for massive impact attacks. And so I wanted to give him the dedicated fist fighter martial arts role. Obviously, a lot of characters, Goku is obviously a martial artist. Like, a lot of characters will punch. Luffy obviously punches things. But their stuff is, like, very over the top. With Luffy's stretchiness and Goku having beam struggles and teleportation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yuji very much like get in their face and hit them hard
They
kind of character.
all the other punchy characters that you have are punch plus flavor. This is punch.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've given it to Yuji. Up next is another JJK character. We've got Megami. And I think Megami is actually got a really interesting moveset for a fight game like this, because his entire gimmick is basically Maria Reynard from Castlevania, summoning animals and having them fight.
You know what's really funny? He's V. He's just V from Devil May
Yeah,
Cry.
yeah, he's V from Devil May Cry. You fight with the dogs, you fight with the rabbits, you fight with the owl, the elephant drop. And if you really want an awakened state, you could have him summon his whatever that super powerful one is. Like
Maharaga, yeah, you can have him. You know, with this treasure I summon.
Yeah.
Level 3 removes your character from the game at the cost of kill that guy over there.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think Megami would be like one of the more unique fighters to have here as an animal control type character. I don't know if you'd consider that a puppet character or something else. I don't know what the archetype
Probably
would be for
just
it.
a summoner.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some games have moves where, like, I'm pretty sure Majin Vegeta in some Shonen Jump games has him do his literal attack where he commits suicide as like a super, and it just leaves him with 1 health at the end, at the cost of like almost killing the opponent. You could do that here. So yeah, or you do it as Creets because this is a 3v3. All right, next up then. We got the last JJK character for this on here right now. It's
Actually,
Navara.
Fighterz has a really good analog to that. It's the Android 16 Super.
Ah, yes. He blows himself up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You mean
Yeah.
one of the funniest supers in video games?
Oh, it's so funny. It's really good.
The nah, fuck you move.
Yeah, so yeah, I added Nabara, the final member of the trio, the original trio for JJK. I thought of her as a really fun trap type character, planting the nails in the ground or in the opponents and then exploding them. Like, that was really just the main gimmick, and I also like her as a character. So using the nails as projectiles and then explosive bombs in order to like lure people, like not lure people over, but damage people, leaving when they'd at least expect it, putting curse on people, stuff like that. Yeah, I also another girl for the roster. Like Maki, so here's the thing, right? Maki probably works a bit better, although she's mainly a martial artist, if we were following the current manga stuff. But a big thing I've done with this roster, and it's partly because it's how the Shonen Jump games tend to do it, is they tend to prioritize what's happening in the anime more so than they do what's actually happening in the manga, because the anime has their bigger audience. I want to say Jump Ultimate Stars is the only Jump game that focused on the manga instead of the anime, because its entire gimmick was having manga panels and making up your own pages.
There actually is a really big exception to that, and it's the Bleach characters in Jump Force all being based on the Thousand Year Blood War, which had not been. It very famously was not animated at the time that Jump Force came out. The Bleach anime just ended 200 chapters early.
Yeah, but like I think that being the exception is because they probably weren't at the time of making Jump Force thinking that Bleach was going to have an anime, so they may as well do the manga. Like, or at least they weren't thinking they were going to finish the 1,000-year Blood War. But everything else tends to follow the anime, and so that's what I decided to do here as well for a lot of my picks. And as we're only in the Shibuya arc, or the Shibuya arc is just finished, I didn't really want to focus on anything that goes beyond that for JJK, which is absolutely where Maki would come more into play for things. Also, I could have had my boy Higuruma then if I wanted to go that.
I was heavily considering doing Maki, but I felt like I was a little generous with JJK to begin with, considering.
We'll see. Well, this is the end for JJK, for me, for now anyway. Next up, we got, I think it's, Asta. So Black Clover. Black Clover is another big one. It's obviously in a weird position right now because it's moved manga as it's coming towards the end of its serialization.
Yeah, it just moved to monthly though, which is
still
the same company.
It's not even monthly. It's like sort of seasonal. it's in the Weird magazine that doesn't have a set schedule.
Oh, it's in that one? Okay.
Yeah, because we got a chapter in December, but we haven't had a chapter in January. We don't know when the next chapter's coming. But anyway, Black Clover. I think Asta would be kind of cool. It really depends on what you clarify as magic in this setting, because he's obviously all anti-magic. He can cancel out magic attacks. But if we start like characterizing stuff like Goku's ki as being magic, then Asta can become this really cool, like, range attack canceller, basically.
Yeah, effectively, like, Ki, Nen, I'm blanking on the JJK one. Just Curse Energy. Effectively, they're just their own magic systems anyway, so it really just comes down to how you interpret it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think there's a lot of fun things you can do with that.
MHA gets the exception because they're just the X-Men.
Yeah, it's not magic, it's science, it's DNA.
It's not magic, they're just built weird.
They're just built different.
Alright, so the next up we do have another Black Clover character next up, and I went for Noelle. I really did consider putting Yuno on the roster as well as Noelle, and giving them 3, like I saw someone say in the chat. The problem is I wanted to try and have some variation. Noelle's like a waterbender, basically, with a transform state as well that would work for the awakened state. She manipulates water and uses that to fight, and creates different forms out of it. And there's not really anyone else I have on my roster that uses water. Whereas the problem with Yuno is his entire thing is wind-based. And like life-based, and there's a load of characters who do wind stuff. Naruto's whole gimmick is wind-based fighting. Like, I had to really consider whether or not Yuno really stood out when compared to some of the other fighters that I wanted on here as a higher priority. He does have star magic, that's true. But in the end, I ended up not going for Yuno. But he was close. I did almost put him on here as a third choice, but Noel ended up winning out. I prioritized I thought the water stuff was a bit more unique, and also just trying my best to have a few more girls on the roster as well.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of protagonists that are, or main protagonists that are, so you kind of have to pick secondary characters to represent it most of the time.
Yeah. But okay, next up. So next up we got Mash from Mashal. So this is our first gag character on the roster. Technically, you could argue that he's also a punching character, of close quarters punching character, but I think what you would want to do for Mashal is take full advantage of like the ludicrousness of that series. The fact that like he got like Wii Fit energy in doing exercises and stuff like that, and doing damage to people through very casual movements that wouldn't normally be just a punch, like wouldn't feel like a damaging attack.
For reference, I chose to do MASH as well, but I decided to take it in a different way, which I'm happy about because we have different ideas for it.
Yeah.
My idea was that he's still trying to like pretend to have magic as he does in the series. So he's just like using his wand as like a dagger, or he like throws his broom to jump on it as a projectile, so he looks like he's flying.
I mean, I also think that throwing the broom and jumping on it is definitely
yeah. He also like just does the funniest thing, and he can just break dance to cause tornadoes. Or he was like shown to just rub his hands fast enough and then like release the heat that he created via friction to like release a fireball.
Yeah, there's loads of ludicrous things you can do with MASH. So I think focusing on that, taking the gag elements of it, is like the way to make him unique and stand out. I'm given that Mashle is obviously got the anime currently running. The manga did pretty decently well. I'm pretty sure the anime is going to keep going till it's finished, not because the manga's already finished. So yeah. I think you just need him, and yet you don't need anyone else from Mashle. To be honest, Mashle's biggest problem is that it doesn't have like any good side characters. Mash is like the only decent character in that whole show. The rest of them are either really generic or really boring.
Yeah, they're there.
I would just like to say, Nanten, you made your PSD like
I know how big it is.
2 times larger than it should be.
It's because
what
when happened? when I put the icons in, they just came out this size. And I tried to resize them down to 500 by 500, but I was getting inconsistent results. And I just thought, well, if I was streaming, I was just like, fuck it, I'll keep it like this size and just make it bigger.
That might have also been a reason why it broke.
I mean,
before.
This roster is the one I tested yesterday when I was testing it, and it was fine. So, I think it was me having this and then the other two also up in the background that caused the stream to.
I resized it. It should be fine now.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, we can move on from MASH though to the next row. And now we have Bleach. Now we've got. I know Bleach is like one of the big three, along with Naruto and One Piece. But I always feel like in terms of vibe and aesthetic, it doesn't quite fit those two series, which are far more like Dragon Ball. I feel like it fits it further down more with stuff like JJK. So I wanted to include it further down the roster. But it was going to be here. It was going to be here. So Ichigo, he's up here, and obviously plays like his 1000-year Blood War version, which, as Creeks pointed out, was what they already did in Jump Force. And with the anime currently running on that, it's the obvious ideal choice for him. So I won't spend much time talking about him. We can move on to the next one. And yeah, Rukia. The other Jump Force used Rukia as well, I believe. I think it used Rukia and Aizen, I think. So I also wanted to keep Rukia around for this one. I think like she's the other main protagonist of Bleach. She gets big moment with her Bankai in the 1000-year Blood War arc. So she's finally got that. So I think it makes sense to keep her around. She's a competent fighter. She has ice-based powers, which is pretty neat. So I wanted to keep her. And then the next Bleach character, I decided to take advantage of the 1000-year Blood War and the fact that the Quincy's are the main antagonists, because it feels like they would probably go for Yuha back being the main antagonist now. But I think he's boring as all hell. I don't think he's a very interesting character to have. Whereas Uyu's obviously been around since the beginning. This is a big arc for him. He's on the antagonist's side in this arc. So I think this is a good chance for him to get a bigger spotlight in a fighting game like this. And being an archer, primarily, with a sword for close combat, I think makes him stand out from the other Bleach characters. Gets like a bigger focus on range attacks, but can defend himself if people get up close. But you want to prioritize sort of playing keep away with the opponent. Yeah, Zona, exactly. So I think Uyu would be a great choice for a current Shonen Jump game, while the Quincy's are still super relevant. So yeah, so that's it for my Bleach characters. I think the next series is the last one with multiple reps. Yeah, Chainsaw Man. So we've got Denji. Chainsaw Man is obviously huge. It's really popular. Part 2 is currently running, but Part 1 was in Weekly Shonen Jump. The anime's getting a movie coming out soon. Chainsaw Man hasn't had the chance yet to appear in a Shonen Jump video game because of how new it is, but I think it's like a guaranteed one to be there. So of course I was going to include Denji fighting with chainsaws, being a rushing character.
And chainsaw guy.
Yeah, and then the next one is the next one on the pick is also the other obvious Chainsaw Man character, I think. Power. I think
funny.
Yeah, because there's obviously the main three, but Power's blood magic effectively is like she can do a lot more with it. I think she can have the giant blood hammer as like a core weapon if you wanted to give her one, but I think manipulating blood and using it to create different attacks and stuff is like way more interesting for a fighting game character. So Power works. I think Power works really well. Makima's slightly weird because obviously her entire thing is about control. So if you wanted to have her in a fighting game, you have to. She'd basically just be a summon type character, but summoning fucking randos and other weapon devils to fight instead of her. But I think if again following my anime logic, Makima hasn't done a whole lot in the anime currently to show what she could do as moveset wise, whereas Power obviously has. So Power is the one to go for. And if I'm right, I think everything from this point on is a new series. So yeah, Kurapika. So this was a big one that I was umming and ahhing about. Do I make Kurapika the only Hunter x Hunter rep? Do I forgo Gon and Killua?
I respect it.
Bold, I respect it. I
respect that.
And I chose for this because disregard everything I said about anime for a minute. Gon has done jack all in the Hunter x Hunter manga for the past decade now. Neither has Killua. Kurapika is the protagonist. And the problem Gon has is the exact same problem Yuji has, in that all they really do is hit people really hard. And because I felt like Yuji should be hit, it is far more relevant and far more important to have on like a current Shonen Jump roster than Gon is. But I couldn't not have Hunter x Hunter. I thought Kurapika would be a way more interesting pick, fighting with his chains. His awakened state could be when his eyes go the red. Yeah, I did consider having Gon as well, but I just decided, nah. Leorio would have been good. Unfortunately, like, there's very little I think he actually does for a full moveset. Like, I love the fact that he can punch people through portals, but that's like really the only thing he's done fighting wise. I mean, it's you need to have a good balance art of different gameplay styles representing the history of Shonen Jump. Like, I get it. If the roster was much bigger, then yeah, sure. But there's so many Shonen Jump series out there that I want to represent. If I really wanted to do the history of Shonen Jump, then I would just not have multiple characters from any series, and I would have made all 45 characters from new series. So, like, I didn't want to do that, obviously, because people like side characters, and the side characters often do a lot of fun stuff. But in some cases, like, I think Kurapika he's one of the main 4 protagonists of Hunter x Hunter, and he is currently the lead protagonist of Hunter x Hunter. So I think he has a higher claim to things at the moment than Gon does. So yeah, anyway, I rambled on a bit on that one. What have we got next? Great. All right, this one's like a personal me pick. I love Black Cat. Train was like the coolest character in Jump Ultimate Stars. So I wanted to have him here. Black Cat might be relevant again because they randomly made a Twitter account for it. And
Oh wait, I didn't even know about that. That's funny.
yeah, like the last year they just started a Black Cat Twitter account and just started posting stuff from the original anime and all that. And it happened around the time that Ayakashi Triangle kind of ended.
Yeah.
Which got like obviously speculation over whether or not they were going to do a reboot anime or if that his next project was going to involve Black Cat in some way.
Yeah. Manton, I want you to know, I've actually, I was strongly considering doing Train on my own roster to the point that I actually made an updated icon for him.
Oh shit!
Nice. So like he was on my roster long enough that I made an icon for Train. To update it, and then at the literally like the last character that I chose for the roster was replacing him with a different gun user.
Yeah, fair enough. Like Train is my de facto gun user. There was another character I was considering, but I knew I definitely wanted to have Train on here, so that other character I couldn't do. But I Train is great. I'm a huge fan of Black Cat, so I wanted to put him on here. Ultra Chris says the anime wasn't a complete adaptation. The anime is weird in that like it adapts the stuff that happens within the Black Cat flashback as if it's happening on real time, and then has it happen at the same time as the actual real time stuff. So in the original Black Cat, there's like the portion of the story set in the present day, then a flashback, and then goes back to the present day. But the anime has present day stuff and flashback stuff at the same time, and then about halfway through the series it joins up, and then it's just present day stuff from then on. It's a weird way of doing the adaptation, but I'd still say the anime's a decent watch. But that would be like a big reason to redo the anime nowadays, to do it as the manga was. The biggest problem the Black Cat manga has is that it feels slightly incomplete, as it has that problem where it introduces a whole bunch of characters and then like never fleshes half of them out. It'd be like Bleach ending before revealing what the Bankais are for like half of the 13 divisions. But yeah, anyway, Train is on here. Another Zona type character. He's cool. Next up, Gintoki. Gintoki is like you have the big three, and then he's like the secret member of the big four. The secret extra player who just didn't quite get that big in the US because his series is so heavily Japanese with loads of Japanese wordplay, but was just as popular as One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach in Japan. So I feel like Gintoki needs to be here as well. I love Gintama. Gintama's great. I think, just like Masho, it's another perfect opportunity for gag-type attacks. Every time Gintoki has been playable in one of these games, he has a Kamehameha that only sometimes works as one of his moves.
It's such a good bit. It would have to be in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact that it's so recurring, he has it in every appearance so far.
Mm-hmm. It's really funny. So you do that. You have obviously a lot of sword play, but you also have other gags. He can drive on his moped and crash into things. As I would have loved to have put another Gintama character in, but given that the series and both manga and anime are over, and it's not as big in America and all outside of Japan as it is over there, it's slightly hard to justify adding someone like Kagura, which has been a problem. Like J-Stars only had Gintoki as well. And
Kagura's in J-Stars as
she's just a support. Yeah, if we were doing supports as well, then she's an obvious pick for that. But yeah, I was definitely going to have Gintoki in here. So I did. So next up I put in Kaniku Man or Ultimate Muscle. This was kind of, I think Kaniku Man might have been the last character I added to this roster. I originally wasn't going to do it. Obviously, Ultimate Muscle doesn't run in Shonen Jump anymore. But it is still running somehow. But it is getting a new anime adaptation soon-ish, or at least they've announced one. And when I was thinking of like fighting game types, I realized I didn't really have anyone who kind of counts as a grappler, like a wrestler. And I was like, you know what, actually that works really well to make him stand out. Like having a grab-centered character. Someone like Zangief from Street Fighter. So, yeah, I decided I was going to have Kaneko Man here. He also works really well as a legacy character, given he's one of the big series of like the 80s, early 80s, even late 70s. When did Ultimate Muscle start? Must have been. It's around that time. But yeah, Kaneko Man, I included him here. So Jotaro is speaking of 80s characters. I did and ah over whether or not I wanted Jotaro to be the Joe protagonist in this game. But he's obviously the main one. He's obviously the big one. I don't think, even though Stone Ocean is the latest anime, and they have tended to like sort of push towards that, I just don't think Jolene is popular enough of a protagonist to work in here. And her kind of string grapple thing is also kind of already taken by Uraraka and Deku as tether type characters. So I ended up just resorting to Jotaro. I mean, there's another reason I went with Jotaro, but it's not here yet. And I think it's an obvious reason when you'll see it. But I've gone for, yeah, Jotaro is the JoJo protagonist I went for. Next up, we have... So it says Andy and Fuko, but I would call it more Fuko and Andy from Undead Unluck. Because here's the thing with that series. Half of the characters in it are like crazy powerful to the point that they just don't really fit very well in fighting games. Like if you were to just have Andy, the very fact that he can't die means that like if you were to realistically take that in, it makes him like impossible to defeat. In a fighting game, you'd have to take creative liberties, and there are other undead characters like that, like Shen, whose entire gimmick is making you do the opposite of what you'd want to do. And if you
I'd
wanted
say
to
it's
include
like
that,
you could either treat it like Slayer or Elizabeth, where when you beat like if actually we can talk about this more because I think I'm doing it the same but opposite from what you are.
yeah. So the way I've decided to do this is that again, this comes back to the awakening state idea. Is that when you mainly play as Andy, but technically you're playing as Fuko, who Andy is carrying around, and we'll do all of that. But the way I envision it is that when he gets hit, it's not Andy who's taking damage because he's carrying Fuko. She's also receiving some of the damage, so it's her power meter and stuff. And as part of that, when you do the awaken thing, you can effectively send Andy off for some unluck damage. Like, and then so Fuko gets off Andy's back, and then you control Fuko as Andy basically CPU dashes into the opponent and has whatever unluck it be, whether it be a meteorite dropping or a truck ramming into
I feel like the meteor is iconic.
Yeah, the meteor would be like the super, like the ultimate attack.
It's the big that's your level 3. That's the big establishing moment for the series.
Yeah, you get Fuko gives Andy a kiss, cuts his head off, lobs it at the opponent, and then a big meteorite just charges down.
Do we give her the bullets?
Yeah, I mean she can have a gun. So this is the thing, right? I really wanted to include solo Fuko on her own and have Fuko and Andy be separate characters. But because I'm following this idea of what are they doing in the anime right now, I feel like it has to be early game.
Yeah, because she doesn't have the unluck bullets yet in the anime.
She doesn't have the unluck bullet. She's got the short hair. She's not like a boxer or a martial artist or anything like that at this point in time. So she can have the gun. When you're just playing as Fuko, she can have the pistol that she's got. She has one this early on anyway to defend herself. When you separated her and Andy. But that's the kind of gimmick I wanted to go for in this. It's almost like a puppet character if Andy's the puppet. And you send him off and then fight at a distance, but Fuko is the one you actually control and the one the opponent needs to take out.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just got the gun in the anime, yeah. So she has the gun to protect herself. But yeah, that's just how I envision doing this character. Effectively, a puppet type character with the unluck elements thrown in. which kind of then allows me to justify the fact that Andy is immortal and so can't lose. But yeah. Alright, next character. Hinamaru Ushio from Hinumaru Sumo. So we had a conversation before starting this about sports characters. And can we include sports? How would we go about including sports characters on this roster? And I really wanted to include one. So I went through like Jump's catalogue of sports series and discovered pretty recently, actually, within the last decade, they had a long-running sumo manga that was really popular. It got an anime. I think it ended in 2018. So it came out between the time of Jump Force and now, or maybe J-Stars and now. Well, Haikyuu's obviously the big popular sports one, but I can't imagine Hinata fighting other shonen characters like Goku and Blackbeard and stuff like this, given that he's just a guy who plays volleyball. But a sumo, yeah, sure. big chunky sumo guy. He can play like E Honda and stuff and be like a big lad. So yeah, Hinamaru Ushio, I thought he would be a fun pick, who might not be that well known in the West, but again, the series did pretty well in Japan. I think he would be the sort of character they would have added if Jump Force had been more like J-Stars Victory Versus 2, instead of being as Western focused as it was. But yeah, that's Hinamaru. Kuro Sensei. There we go. Assassination Classroom is still really popular worldwide, I would say, even though it's finished.
Yay.
I love the author of Assassination Classroom, but unfortunately Elusive Samurai, which is about to get an anime, I think Tokiyuki wouldn't have that interesting of a moveset when we've already got
pretty
Samurai. Yeah. So like Tanjiro already kind of does that. Kuro Sensei is still really popular. There's a lot of fun things he can do in his moveset. So I think he should be here. He'd also be one of the bigger characters on this roster as well, like Blackbeard or Kaneko Man. So yeah, Kuro Sensei. I want him. He's a creative option. Cool. What do we have next? I'm trying to remember what order I did these in. Senku.
Okay, I'm happy somebody did it. So, I was toying between him and another choice for my last one, and I chose against him.
Yeah, so I was Senku's obviously not a fighter, but I was thinking like, okay, what can we do creatively? He has squared up to people in the past using science, using his taser gun, using I think he had it in the latest anime, his backpack thing with everything on. He can if we wanted to follow the latest anime, we could even give him the Medusa. It's like, although that doesn't damage, that heals people, so maybe that's not the best. But given that, then I remembered, oh wait, this is also like a Dragon Ball Fighterz type deal. So if we really wanted to, we could also have characters like Taiju and Kohaku show up if we needed proper actual moves and not just sciencey related things.
What if Senku's win con was different, like his win condition? So instead of like dealing damage, if he fully healed the opponent, he won.
Then at the point we have to start off with 0 damage.
Yeah.
To work your way up, yeah. But yeah, Dr. Stone is obviously a really popular one. It's not a traditional battle manga, but I think that with the power of science and all the fun things you could do with that idea, I think there's a lot of stuff Senku can do to defend himself using science technology. That was good enough for me to justify having him square off with other people here. But yeah, there's Senku. Next up, we got Roboko. Roboko is one of the first characters I decided on for this roster as like the queen of gag series. Roboco's like massively popular in Japan. It also has a movie coming out now. It had an anime from last year. There's a lot of fun, stupid gags you could do. Roboko is very referential, or more than like Gintama is in where it pulls its references.
Which is very impressive.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of stuff you could pull on from there as well. And if you wanted to do an awakened state, there's all kinds of nonsense you could do, like having her depower into her quote-unquote form for a bit. And you could have her super be from the recent manga chapters where it's the Spider-Man Into the Multiverse parody, and just have all the different multiverse versions of Roboco come in for an attack. And of course, she gets the Captain Falcon knee for an attack because she just kind of has to. It's perfect for her. So yeah, Roboco, she's in here. All right, Saint Seiya, Pegasus Seiya. I actually don't really know anything about Saint Seiya. I just know it is one of those series in Shonen Jump, one of those massive legacy ones that's big enough that Seiya just appears in like every single game, basically, give or take. So I did consider putting Seiya maybe as DLC instead of on the base roster, and I sort of last minute decided that he was going to be on the base roster and swapped him with someone else, just because I think Saint Seiya. I think there might be a Saint Seiya manga still going on now, just not in Weekly Shonen Jump. But Saint Seiya I don't think is nearly as popular as it used to be. So I thought not having him as DLC but having him on the base roster might be a better choice. So yeah, so I went on. I included Pegasus Seiya here. Cool. Next up, I went for Suzu from Ayakashi Triangle. This was an interesting pick. So originally I was going to go for the main character, the other main character of Ayakashi Triangle, Matsuri. But the problem with Matsuri is that he's a wind ninja, and we already have Naruto. Which is kind of like there's too much clashing there. But Suzu has a really fun fighting style. She fights by making origami paper cranes and other origami stuff, and like glides across on them and uses them as projectile weapons. And she's also like the queen of Ayakashi, so she can summon other Ayakashi to help defend her and participate in fights.
She hits you with the Parasol Skullgirls.
Yeah. And like the ultimate move that sort of finishes off the manga comes from her. Like the series starts off with Matsuri as like the main combat guy because he's the ninja, and she's the one who's being protected. But by the time the series ends, she's like just as competent, if not more so, in battle than he is. And it's the two of them working together, which is ultimately like how the series sort of goes. Which is also why I think you'd include Matsuri definitely as part of her moveset, in a very similar way I was imagining it to Videl in Great Saiyaman, where Matsuri comes in for like some really strong attacks. And that's how you can get him in there as well. But Suzu would be the main one, because I think she'd just be a lot more fun to play as. Gliding across the stage on origami, paper cranes and stuff like that, and using Ayakashi magic. So yeah, I decided to use it. And last we got the Kasugi sisters from Cat's Eyes. This was one of the first characters I actually chose for this. I was trying to think of some classic Shonen Jump series that was popular that has never actually been in one of these games before. And I was looking through, and Cat's Eyes caught my attention. I was reading about it, and I was like, oh, this sounds really cool, actually. It's like the OG female spy series. Yeah. Kind of similar to like Charlie's Angels and Totally Spies. Cat's Eyes was first.
It's really interesting. Charlie's Angels is probably like... It's one of the other things that started that sort of genre. I'm pretty sure Totally Spies is just straight up based on Cat's Eye.
Yeah.
Cat's Eye is actually surprisingly recent. It's surprisingly relevant because they've got new projects coming out, and they've had a crossover with Lupin the Third, so it's not a small franchise by any means.
Exactly. That's the thing that pushed it over to me. There was literally a movie with Lupin, a crossover Cat's Eye Lupin the Third movie that came out in like the last 2 years. And I was like, oh damn, this is like an old series that's gotten a big fresh push. as
Yeah.
and it's connected to the City Hunter franchise, which is obviously still going as
Yeah.
well. And I thought,
man, I'm glad that you did this because remember when I said that Train was the last character that I cut because I replaced him with someone similar?
yeah,
Specifically, like, not just like the sisters as a whole, but like specifically Hitomi was in contention for the same spot that Train was, so she was the second to last character cut.
oh yeah. Well, I started thinking of characters like the Ginyu Force, or like in the Grand Blue Fantasy, where you've got the trio of guys. And I started thinking that would be a really fun thing to have in this. That's something you could do in a fighting game like this. You could have all three of the sisters in one moveset, with Hitomi probably being the main one that you control, but all three of them being there and working alongside each other in real, like, martial arts fighting style. So yeah, I thought it was a really cool idea, and it was one I was like immediately sold on when we decided on this roster. So they were like one of the first characters I added to this. Decided they were going to stay. But this is the base roster. This is the pre-DLC roster. So now we're going to go on to the DLC. And you'll see, I split the DLC into themes. So these first three are all the villains. These are the DLC villains. So we can start with the first one. It's Dio. So people will say, "Where is the vampire? Where is it? He's here." Dio was actually on my base roster first, and then I was going to have Jotaro be the DLC. But I kind of realized my roster is incredibly protagonist heavy, with like Blackbeard and Buggy being the two exceptions to the rule here. You can justify having Vegeta and Sasuke and Uryu all being on the villain side of things. Maybe even Bakugo if you wanted to push that. But I sort of gave up on that, and I just sort of accepted, okay, I got two villains. The rest of the base roster are just going to be protagonists. It'd be really weird if Dio was the only other villain alongside Blackbeard. So I'm going to make Dio DLC, and I decided I was going to have a villain DLC pack, which is the first three. So Dio comes in here first. He's only first because then I could put him next to Jotaro on the roster, which is also why the next character is second, in fact. And it's Rip from Undead Unluck. So I wasn't going to include an Undead Unluck character. Rip was actually the last character I decided on, for the reason I stated before, that a lot of their characters are hard to put in fighting games if you wanted to do it exactly as they should be. So, but Rip, I think he was just introduced in the anime. He's a really popular character. He's like a pretty decent fighter, and I think you can kind of work around the unrepair mechanic. Obviously, technically, if you wanted to do it accurately, if he gets one attack in, then your health starts slowly dropping down. But, you know, you could easily work around that, I think, or just ignore that fact, or make it some sort of special move of his. I think you could also have Latla there coming in to block attacks, or make attacks avoid him, I guess, for some sort of moves. Maybe that could be his awakened state even. But Rip just felt like the better choice. There are other choices. If anyone's seen the recent episode of Undead Unluck that aired on Friday, then you know that there's another antagonist that I could have done instead. But he kind of clashes with Train a little bit, so I decided not to do it. But yeah, Rip also just gave me another villain, so there he is. Okay, and now next up, everyone's been talking about him, everyone's been asked for him, there's Frieza. Frieza was on the base roster originally as well. My problem was when I initially did DLC, I had characters like Uryu and Megumi on the DLC spots. And then I just sort of thought, they don't really work very well for DLC. They're slightly odd not being in the base roster instead. Whereas I think Frieza sort of works as a DLC fighter, even though he would also make sense in the base roster alongside Goku and Vegeta. It was more of a space thing. If you really want to, you could have Frieza in the base roster and have Boruto in the DLC, I don't know. Yes.
Where's Super Baby 2?
I'm afraid that's gonna have to come in a later DLC, you know, if we get more money.
Link, another really funny thing about that, Super Baby 2 is not from a manga, so he's not real.
This is true.
Not from the manga that ran in Weekly Shonen Jump. He's not from a manga.
Yeah, he's just not from any manga, yeah.
Toei, I can literally say Toei made him up to sell figures, and that's not untrue.
I don't know. I don't know if Buggy seems like a DLC guy. Anyway, we have One Piece DLC coming up eventually. But next up we have Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho. So Yu Yu Hakusho was also originally on the base roster, but again, because of space and trying to balance the base roster and stuff, like he was the one who I swapped with Seiya. Like originally Saints Pegasus was in DLC and Yusuke was in base. And I just kept umming and ahhing on it, and I eventually decided that Yusuke would probably sell more DLC copies than Seiya would. They'd probably be more likely to put Yusuke on DLC. By the way, I'm calling this trio of DLCs the new series, so they're all from new franchises. So Yusuke is there, and then the next one is also a character who was originally on the base roster, but I moved to DLC, and that's Yugi. So I like the idea of having Yugi in fighting games like this. I think it's really funny having a moveset based entirely around summoning cards and using their specific attacks for it. I liked it in Jump Ultimate Stars. It's funny in Jump Force. But Yugi could easily be base, but again, I felt like he would work as DLC as well. So I included him there in the DLC section. And then the last character is also one who could work on base, but I'd always intended him to be DLC. So the next character is Kenshiro, the original Punchy Punch Man. I almost didn't have Kenshiro on here, because he does feel slightly redundant when you've got characters like Jotaro and Yuji. But I felt like I should probably have him on here. Fist of the North Star is huge. So, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh's author and Konami would play Bor Jared because Yugi's already been in plenty of Jump crossover games. So, yeah, Yugi's fine. And there you go, Art. There's Kenshiro. Yeah, exactly. I gotta have Kenshiro, so I decided to have Kenshiro in the end. Like, it's a hard one to not have. But I did. So I had it. Okay, and then the final three, I call this the Cool Guy DLC. So we have Rengoku as the other Demon Slayer character. Rengoku is obviously he's really popular. The Mugen Train movie was massive. A lot of people love him. A lot of girls really like him. He's cool. And I realized I know technically they don't generate fire. The fire and the water and all that is more aesthetic than actually a thing that's affected and happens. But I realized I didn't really have any fire-related characters on the roster, unless you count Tanjiro's fire breathing. That's more like a transformation. So, yeah, Rengoku kind of adds something else on that. And it was just hard picking another Demon Slayer character, to be honest. One that I think would be big enough to warrant having a place on here. Because the other really popular guy is the ninja from the Red Light District arc. And the problem with that one is that I already have a ninja on the roster. It's Naruto. And so it would clash. But yeah, Rengoku's here. Alright, next, another cool guy. It's him. It's Mr. Nidewin. He's here.
Yo.
He's here and he's ready. So, I was thinking about, because obviously of how big JJK is and all that. Originally, I didn't want to give it a fourth character, and I wasn't going to include Gojo at all. But he felt like a DLC pick. Like you can put the real Gojo icon on if you can now Slink.
No, you're just correct for this. That's the correct choice. That is the DLC option.
He's a very clear DLC choice, and if that means giving JJK 4 characters when most other series only have 3, so be it. The JJK anime is huge. I think they can justify that.
$5.99 for Gojo Satoru.
And then you see, this is where you could pull from the manga to have a complete moveset, because he's actually like had a full fight with stuff that you could pull from now.
Yeah.
Could work. So yeah, there he is. I mean, and then last choice. I mean, this is the one that everyone's been expecting since we hit Buggy. It's Shanks. Shanks is the other DLC character. Anyone who can figure out why I've put Luffy, Blackbeard, and Buggy and Shanks as the 4 One Piece characters on here, you get a little sticker. You get a little manga enjoyer sticker.
I get it. They're all hockey men.
That's it. You got it.
None of them are swordsmen. They're all hockey men.
That's it. But yeah, Shanks is like keen DLC material. This is why it's the cool guy DLC. I get you Gate is excluded Tokiyuki but put in Rangoku, but I feel like my justification is that Demon Slayer should probably have 2 characters. So, and Elusive Samurai doesn't have an anime out right now, so you know.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, because somebody brought it up in the chat. Is Shanks still 007? 0 feats, 0 scenes. 7 appearances.
7 appearances.
Because like, I was considering Shanks to be funny on my roster, and then I thought about it. I was like, has he still like not done anything?
All right,
Does he have a moveset?
I'll put it like this: the latest movie was about Shanks. So it's big Shanks stuff, and we've seen Shanks have a fight in real time now. The anime hasn't reached it yet, but the manga has. The fight lasted like 2 pages total, but. And Shanks didn't get hit once in it, but I think that's fine. They've included
getting hit with the beer stick.
This
guy's really strong. Cool. Can we see him fight? No.
Yeah. Shanks has been in One Piece games as a playable character. They could pull from stuff. You can divine departure all over the place. It's fine.
Yeah. You take his moves from the video games and the movie. So this is another character like iconic Super Baby 2. We can just say Toei made up to make merchandise.
Gotta have one. That's the anime way.
Everybody gets one.
But yeah, there we go. There's my full roster of Shonen Jumpies. It was actually kind of hard doing this, harder than I thought, trying to balance having side characters and what series to have. But I have been talking for long enough, I think. Yeah, I'm afraid Suna and Medaka are just not that relevant anymore, as much as I love Hitman Reborn and Medaka Box.
I'd like to let everyone know this is the background stream, image for Creeks' roster PSD. It shows his total playtime of 33.6 hours in Jump Force.
True, so true. I have a problem. I hate that game, by the way. For anybody in the chat that doesn't know, I have 33 hours in this game. The week that it was getting delisted, I bought it as a joke, and then it snowed out, so I was stuck inside instead of being able to go to college. So I just stayed in my room for 2 days and played Jump Force for like 12 hours a day, because I had nothing better to do outside of cook and do laundry. So I am a Jump Force expert. That game sucks. I hate that game. I still have it downloaded on my computer. I booted it up like 5 days ago.
You've played it for 33 times longer than anyone else on the earth. Congratulations.
True. I am Slink, you can confirm. I have an OC for like one of my stories that I write in my personal time. I came up with the design and concept for that character based on what I just slapped together for my Jump Force OC.
This is true.
Because after seeing them for 20-something hours of gameplay, I just got attached. I am the Jump Force warrior. I have more authority than anyone else on Earth to say that game is awful.
Anyway, we can begin now.
Yeah.
I just thought it'd be funny to have this as a background because it's better than looking at white the entire time. True. So we're starting off with a funny first choice.
Okay.
So thought it was kind of interesting that I didn't see this anywhere on Nan's roster. This is Ryotsu Kenkichi from Kochikame. I believe, he is the oldest character on this list. He is from the first few years of Jump, like running.
He is. Yeah,
he is. So he is a lazy, very squat policeman that I've decided to all. So fun fact, everybody. Anytime that I say anything good about anime, people post that image in my Discord server. I'm never escaping it.
Hey, Creeks.
Yeah.
Open the Discord stream, dummy.
What's happened?
Yes, it's about the immersion. But no, because Ryotsu's like basically from I like to call him Japanese Homer Simpson. He is from a series that ran for like 30 years and is a comedy series. So you can basically just kind of do anything that you want with him and have it work, which is really funny. He's got like like a lot of the moves that he uses in other games of this nature is just him transforming into different outfits and doing like these wacky set pieces as an attack, or building model kits on the job and then having the model kits come to life and start fighting alongside you, or like piloting a drone which then goes haywire, riding a bike into people. And then you get some of the more esoteric stuff like just having his boss just appear as a PNG in the background and scream at him like that one Phoenix Wright super where the judge just appears based on the nightmare at the beginning of Ace Attorney 2. And just the words that the boss screams at him turns into stone, which then collapse on the opponent. Sky is kind of the limit when you're working with a character that is just completely cartoon Looney Tunes logic. So it just kind of comes down to your creativity. So
I wanted to put Ryotsu on mine. I just didn't have the space for it. Like, I really considered it, but I decided to focus on more modern things instead, given that Coach Kami has ended.
I'll be transparent here. This was a really close race between Arale and Ryotsu.
Yeah.
I decided to do Ryotsu for reasons that will become obvious towards the end of the base roster.
I also thought about Arale, but then I realized how much Arale and Roboco clash as
I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it. It's because I have Roboco, and I decided not to do Arale because I have Roboco later.
Oh, I've spoiled it for you. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, all right. Who's next? I believe so. I think I had to move a couple things around just to make sure, because I don't like when franchises get cut off on rows.
Mm-hmm.
But this is mostly in chronological order for the base roster. And then the DLC is just in the order that I think that they would come out. So next we have Tsubasa. I was considering Martial Master Asumi for the same reasons that you chose to do like the sumo wrestler for your sports character. Asumi is like a very, he's an MMA fighter, and I was like, oh cool, he's an MMA fighter. We can just, we can have our like little mech sort of, or just, a guy that in this roster of all these crazy people is just like an MMA fighter, and he takes you to Memphis. But, unfortunately, I decided against it because I wanted something that was more indicative of the history of their sports manga. And I was like, okay, if I'm picking a sports character, I am going to BS some way for it to be Tsubasa, because Tsubasa works in a hyper fighting game like Fighterz or MVC. The stuff, especially in the video game adaptations, the stuff that they have Captain Tsubasa characters just do on the field is like Saiyan Saga tier nonsense, and it is incredible. So
I don't know. I didn't know enough about Tsubasa to warrant whether or not I should put him on there.
Yeah,
I did consider it because it's the other big sport. It's like a huge sports franchise.
Here, I don't know if it's possible to put a GIF up on screen, but if we could just like show this on the stream somehow, it's like open it in a tab. So for anybody that's like, hey, why is this football player, or soccer player for the other Americans present on this roster. I just want you to know this is what this series is about.
Yeah,
so
that looks like a super move to me if I've ever seen one.
We're just gonna go with that and move on.
How do you know Goku's not on the top right, Bender? We haven't reached the top right yet.
I think they might have meant top left, which is just these characters are pre-Goku.
Yeah, we're going in release order.
Pre-Goku.
Okay.
This is probably the weirdest and most obscure character that I have on this entire roster. This is Kota, aka a wingman from the manga Wingman that ran in Shonen Jump in the early 80s. Very deep cut character. I was doing research for a previous roster and I just decided, oh hey, there's a Super Sentai, Kamen Rider type character that ran in Jump. That's a neat concept. I slapped it on because that was a much bigger Jump roster and I was just throwing a lot of stuff in. But for this one, I decided to actually do some research into it, so I started reading a little bit of it. There's a lot of very of its time humor, in the sense of like there is a lot of just straight up ecchi in the series, just because that's what was a lot of Shonen Jump at the time. But Wingman itself is actually a very funny character and charming concept because he kind of just sucks for most of the beginning of the series. Like he does a big strong punch against like one of the villains, and then the punch just like hurts his hand and doesn't do anything, and he realizes he forgot to make himself stronger, so he's just punching like a normal guy, because the way that this character works is originally he's a high school student. He dresses up as this superhero to solve mundane problems around his town because he's a weirdo, and then he runs into this extra dimensional being with this dream journal. Yes, actually, we're brushing that over and moving on. And it basically, if he writes something in it, it makes that true. So he just writes, I can become my alter ego Wingman in real life, and then starts writing down a bunch of superpowers that Wingman has and gives those to himself. So as Wingman, his alter ego, he can maintain that form for a certain amount of time. As he is running out of like time on the transformation, like it starts off as blue, then it becomes yellow, then becomes red. I don't know how you could like translate that, but that would be really fun for a concept for like a fighting game character that just like changes colors as they lose health.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is you lose health, or if you have a timer as the timer runs out.
Yeah, I was talking about it in my server the other day. The issue that we immediately came up with, is he like Mr. Satan? Well, he's weak at first, but he gets much stronger as it goes on, as he starts like learning how to use the powers. It's like a very fun. He starts off very Moomin Rider, and then he grows competence, like he grows into the role. It's very neat, but yeah, the issues that I had was like, oh right, if we do that, then what are the alt colors are what are the alt colors gonna be? But somebody brought up the idea of like, oh, what if the alt colors also change? Like it goes from like black to white or green to purple or something.
Yeah, I think that'd be the way to do it.
Yeah, no, but like he's got these two swords that he can pull out of his belt. He's got like a Kamen Rider dive kick. He's got a rapid punch. He made it so that he can fly with these blue beetle wings that come out of his suit and run really fast. So just this very fun concept for a very comedic, very like very Sentai hero character for a type of game like this. I thought it was really appealing, so I decided to make that my deep cut pick. So if I remember correctly, next up is there we go. A lot of blues to start with. It's very funny how that worked out. But yeah, no, Kenshiro, I don't think there's much that I need to say about Kenshiro implementation-wise. He's got the, big, strong guy. He's got a lot of rapid hits. He's got the pressure point stuff, which could... obviously, I don't think they would make it instantly kill anybody, but it would be like really interesting to have... he hits all your pressure points, and then you're on a quick timer, and then there's a delayed hit that's like an unblockable... like the move doesn't immediately do damage, but it does damage later, would be a really fun application of that. Very, very tall martial artist, which is a very fun playstyle in and of itself. And yeah, no, it's Kenshiro. He had to be here. So I think next is, we could probably, if the next one is what I think it is, we can knock out the next three. Yeah, no, just knock out the next three.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
train.
It's so I originally was like, okay, so Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza have to be here. Do I give Dragon Ball and One Piece a fourth to get some kind of interesting picks in here for Dragon Ball? Like I was considering doing like Piccolo, a lot, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, no, I want space for like more single rep franchises.
Yeah, that was why I didn't go for 4 in the end for them. Trunks I considered to be an option
Trunks is
as
fun.
well.
I like Trunks,
but-
but
A character I considered for Dragon Ball was actually Android 18 because they are the most important / popular character from the Z era, which is the most popular part that hasn't been in one of these. And like, if you're third or fourth, they're like third or fourth in my eyes for that because like they'd be a new addition, so they'd have like something going to like push them. But like that would mean I'd have to have that many characters.
true.
Yeah.
So then let's see the
Also,
next
Slink,
two.
can you check your DMs? This is so
So yeah,
sad.
Goku, Vegeta, Frieza are very self-explanatory. I imagine they'd fight very closely to how they do in Fighters, with Vegeta being a very Vegeta being a very janky brawler that has a lot of technical elements to his game plan. Frieza being a hard zoner with a lot of projectiles with the death beams, death balls, pizza cutters, stuff like that. And then Goku is like not a Shoto, but probably as close as you're getting in a game like this with the spinning kicks, the meteor combo, the the big projectile beam.
Yeah. No, so Dragon Ball Super original characters we weren't considering because Dragon Ball Super is V-Jump. Beerus technically debuted in Dragon Ball Z movie, as did the Super Saiyan Blue transformation. So they're both valid, but Jiren and Kefla and stuff like that, they're
I can't believe you're disregarding my
V-Jumps.
favorite character, Jiren.
He's
He's so cool.
Jiren. I was talking last night about how my buddy Jason has like irony poisoned our entire friend group into thinking that Jiren is extremely funny because
He is funny. He's not cool.
because he's got a really funny design and his moveset in Fighters is actually really fun and interesting to play as. So we've just become irony poisoned. We've all just started liking Jiren because he's funny.
That's how they get you.
Yeah. Jotaro and you can just go ahead and pull up the next one. I was considering doing a third JoJo's character to do something like funny and interesting. Like I was considering doing Young Joseph. I was considering doing Yoshikage Kira, but we were a little pressed for space. So we consulted Present Slink, who is one of the bigger JoJo fans in our friend group, and was like, we were like, hey, Slink, what about this character or that character? Do you think this would be interesting or fun? And Slink was just do Jotaro and Dio and just axe the rest. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, you gave me the choice
Yes,
between Joseph
Yoshikage Kira,
and
Joseph,
Yoshikage
and
Kira.
Jolene.
No, Jolene was not up. I literally said at the beginning, you can't do Jolene, don't do Jolene, she's boring. So I was given 3 choices. Young Joseph, Yoshikage Kira, or no third JoJo slot. And I said, that's boring. No third JoJo slot.
I told them to do a whole horse, so
Could have done Poochie and just had his super be end game.
Whole Horse
I
is
need
really
to
fun, but not only
I need to
really
talk about this
chaotic
for all
freaking-
the JoJo fans in chat. Young Joseph is like kind of boring because he doesn't do much. And Yoshikage Kira, one of my favorite fictional characters, horrible for a fighting game. People make the misnomer that he's like a trap character, but he can only use one of his abilities at once. He's not a trap character. He just has remote bombs. And that's it.
Well, Remote Bombs itself is just really funny to make a moveset around. It's just
Hide
like
in the
here's
corner
the
and throw
one.
bombs.
yo, I
True.
love Rolento.
Here's the one bomb. It is coming towards you slowly. How do you approach? What's your neutral option? Yeah, no, I do get that. I think for me, like, it just comes down to the way I envision fighting game characters is I'm just like, if something doesn't work the way that, like, if something doesn't work a certain way in their home series, if it fits the character well enough and is, like, a fun translation of that concept, I will do it, even if it's not how it technically works. But I kind of agree that, like, the ideas that I had with Kira would kind of break the rules of his stand a little bit too much for my liking. So I kind of conceded to that and ended up just doing Jotaro and Dio.
Yeah,
I also mentioned, because we talked about the Dragon Ball characters earlier, similar to Nan, one of the ideas that I had for this roster is that so this would be a 3v3, fighter style fighting game, team-based tag hyper fighting game. And it would have a mechanic like sparking or like X Factor in MVC3, where it's it's a comeback mechanic. You can pop it once a match, and when you pop that mechanic, if your character in their home series has a transformation, that character will go into that transformation. So like Goku and Vegeta would go Super Saiyan, Frieza goes Golden Frieza, Kensuro's like shirt rips off. Wingman would have like he's got a mode that makes him more durable at the cost of being slightly slower. I feel like if you just wanted to translate that to just being slightly more durable for the sake of the fighting game balance, that would be fine. Stuff like that. So I might offhandedly mention their awakening form would be yada yada or in the future. So what's the start of the next row? I think we're moving out of. I actually don't know.
Dark Snyder.
We're not moving out of the 80s yet. So here's Dark Snyder.
Damn.
So I actually had a friend of mine try to convince me not to add this character because Bastard is a very interesting series with very good art and a lot of cool fights. The characters have very interesting power sets, and the world building is like fairly unique. It kind of kick-started the whole like metal fantasy genre that stuff like classic Guilty Gear is about. Here's the issue. Dark Schneider is a horrible person written by somebody that thinks that making a complete edgelord character is a way to make your protagonist like cool and interesting. He is one of the worst fictional characters I've ever seen. However, I have a fascination with how funny this character is because he is awful. And not only that, the stylistic appeal of Bastard and the moves that he has access to, because this character is obscenely powerful for no reason. He has
cool and edgy.
Dark magic, fire magic, matter manipulation, multiple super forms that he can go into, flight, levitation. He can he can kind of control people's minds, except not really. He can create weapons if he wants to. You have just basically the entire gallery of evil wizard powers with Dark Schneider, and it is very fun. This character sucks. I love it.
Dark Schneider always makes me laugh purely for the name and how edgy it already sounds.
Oh, he's great. It's
Before I heard of Bastard, I thought it was like a parody.
Yeah, the fact
name.
the fact that it is named Bastard with 2 exclamation points. Dark Schneider is so funny next to like Tanjiro. It really is just the opposite character, right? Speaking of which, let's see who's after Dark Schneider. I actually genuinely don't remember who's next to. Okay, Yusuke. Yeah, if Yusuke was there, he would handle him, so don't worry about it. Yusuke, fairly, standard delinquent brawler type, with access to a few interesting, energy manipulation abilities. Obviously, you have the iconic spirit gun, but I just felt like it was a necessity for Yusuke to be here on the roster, even if he is alone for now. He also has a very funny potential implementation for his awakening state, considering what that is in his home series. But I see after Yusuke it should be who is up next. Okay, here we go. Yugi. Yeah, no. So Yugi just inherently presents a really fun concept for a game like this. We've talked about it before. Just really popular character from a really popular series. So he's probably like just a lock for a game concept like this. As long as Konami is playing ball that week, I think the only time they haven't been was J-Stars. But yeah, no, like character that he's got the Dark Magician Girl, a gallery of like spell cards and trap cards that could lead to some really interesting field effects. There's a move in Jump Ultimate Stars where he just throws like the dice from that one game that barely lasted in the manga at you as like a low sweep, and I think that's really funny. So bring that back specifically for no reason. Have it be the only move from any of the other Shadow games.
Here's what you should do. You mentioned the Awakening State mechanic. What you should do is it should be Yugi.
I was gonna say it'd be,
and then when you activate it, he summons the Pharaoh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so the icon is just like Yami Yugi because that's like, the iconic depiction of the character, and realistically, it would probably just be Yami Yugi from the start of the match because that's what they did in like Jump Force and and the like. But I think it would be really funny if it was just Yugi from the start, and when you just hit Awakening mode, he just suddenly grows 6 inches taller and his jacket flies off.
Not flies off. He just like takes his arms out of the sleeves and then hangs it over his fucking shoulders.
No, it's like it has to just like you hit the button. There's no animation of him taking the jacket off. It just suddenly pops into that position like a Yakuza character taking their jacket off.
I'm okay with that.
Alright, you gotta have alternatives option. You make it Yugi but pre-cards. So it's all just board games and stupid and knives and sending people to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah, no, I think so there is, I'll give Jump Force credit for one thing. Something that Yugi and Kaiba have in that game is a move that is just like draw, where, because most of their moves use like their monster cards, like they're all of their like moves are them being a puppet fighter with like the the blue eyes and the Dark Magician.
Yeah.
And then the rest of their specials are like other moves where they summon monsters and stuff to fight. I think it'd be really fun to bring back the concept for the draw move that both of them have, where they draw a random like spell or trap card from their deck, and it does like Swords of Revealing Light, and it's like Virgil summon swords, or like something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I always like in Jump Ultimate Stars, where basically every move is just a different card that is taken from their deck.
Yeah, a lot of potential, maybe too much
Shield.
potential. Yeah. So what's after Yugi? I think it might be Gone next. Let's see if I'm right.
Yeah,
there we go. There's Gone. So yeah, we mentioned earlier, Gone is a difficult character to work around for something like this because he is, I think more than Itadori, more than any other character here, he is Punch Man. And I felt that it was probably, I was not as bold as Nan was here specifically. So I did not choose to opt out on Gone. Instead, I thought it would be interesting to like kind of play around a lot with early series Gone, where he's very crafty. He's got the fishing pole, and there's a lot of applications for the rock paper scissors as like specifically a Rekka move. What they do that I think is interesting, some of the other fighting games, is most of his moves are like applications of Nin that are buffs that he can apply himself to either make himself like stronger or buff up the next instance of his like Janjankin, punch. Which then causes it to have different effects depending on which of the 3 endings that you choose for that attack. So I think leaning into like variations of like the Janjankin is like his core part of his moveset, and giving him applications of the different forms of Nin to kind of be like, here's your gathering your nin inside your body to boost your defense, or you're boosting your next attack to increase the power or effect of that. I think that's a good way to make him interesting without treading on the toes of like how simple his character is fundamentally. Next is this was like a last minute kind of swap in.
Oh, we got Killua.
Yeah, I was originally also going to do Kurapika for pretty much all the reasons that you stated, but I have a few other characters that use that use like, I don't know how to describe it, chains / whips / like cords, the way that Kurapika does.
Ah, right, yeah.
And I was just thinking about it's like most of the interesting stuff that Kurapika has access to is stuff that he can only use against the Phantom Troop members, and it's fine to break canon for that. But I feel like when I was looking at the rest of my roster, and I was like, I don't actually have a lot of lightning users, and I don't have a character that is a pure, Chips enough style, like really speedy rushdown character, which is what Killua is. He's all about the fast. This boy is Sonic the Hedgehog, and he's got the Godspeed, so that's another like interesting buff application. But I feel like just he can use the chains. Only the constraint chain is Phantom Troop exclusive, which I think he uses as his like ultimate attack in Jump Force, if I remember correctly. But
I don't know why, I just find it really funny that you're like, yeah, this is the fast guy. He's probably actually one of the slowest characters you have here.
True. But I was talking about this with like Jason when I was talking about like making a certain other character that appears later like this really powerful, threatening monster if you like fulfill certain conditions. Most of the characters on this list would not be threatened by that character at all. It's all about how they're presented in their home series.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Which does bring us to... I actually do not remember who's next. I should probably bring up the... Yeah, there we go.
Luffy.
That's my boy, Luffy. As far as all of the punchy protagonists that we have, Luffy's probably the most interesting gameplay-wise, just because the Gum Gum Fruit is so inherently interesting. He's like arguably the biggest character here on this roster. Depending on the region, I would say Goku's still bigger, but like for being one of the big faces on the box art, he is a long range like melee zoner character like Dhalsim or Axel, and I think that's really interesting for a character like this.
Yeah, I think something about Luffy that I didn't bring up on mine, which I maybe should have, is Luffy at this point in time could also be really interesting purely through the use of Gear 5, which has been in both the anime and manga. So
I was going to say, I actually wasn't sure whether his awakening state would be like Gear 5, or maybe just dial it back to like one of the previous forms, because Gear 5 itself has so much interesting that you could do that they might actually just want to hold that off and make that the level 3 super.
Yeah, see, I thought they could do it that way. I was thinking if this is really Dragon Ball Fighterz, then half the roster will just be Goku again. And I was like, if that's the case, Gear 5 Luffy can just be his own character.
True. So then we have... I'm going to go ahead and knock out the next two, by the way.
Sure.
Yeah, here's Zora Blackbeard. So these are probably the two most like obvious, kind of boring choices that I could have picked for like the next two One Piece characters. But they're also they're obvious because they make a lot of... Zoro is... So I was talking about it with my buddy, and he was like, all right, if you're doing 4 One Piece characters, you want Luffy, another member of the Straw Hats, an ally of the Straw Hats, or like a non-Straw Hat character that is important to the story, like Ace Sabo or like Yamato, and then an antagonist like Akainu or Blackbeard. So narrowing down from that, it was between a member of the Straw Hats and a non-Straw Hat like ally like Sabo or Yamato, and I just have the most familiarity with Zoro. He's a very fun, very funny character.
Sanji sends me livid.
Yeah, I think that his specific brand of like sword fighting with the 3-sword style makes him very interesting compared to a lot of the other, swordsmen that we are going to have on this roster. And And he also does not have the drawback that Sanji has of not being able to be used against certain characters. So he is actually tournament viable, which is a realistic concern for a fighting game.
Is that something that they actually implemented in Jump Force? Because
every video game Sanji has ever been playable in, he either... Okay, so to my
Jump
knowledge...
Force, he just shoots hearts at the women.
I'm pretty sure it heals them.
Yeah, it does.
Actually, that's really funny.
Yeah, every video game that Sanji has ever been playable in, whenever he is fighting against a woman, his moves do 0 damage. And they change their animations to be him simping. It's very funny.
I know they change his animations, but I don't think all of them do. I'm pretty sure I've played a fighting game where Sanji can hit women. He just kind of has this pained look on his face as he does it instead. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not a thing in Jump Ultimate Stars.
When I was younger, I had this Power Stone clone that was a One Piece game on the GameCube.
Treasure. No.
Yeah, it's
fuck. What's it called?
It's a 4Kids dub game, and you just hear like the 4Kids Sanji voice just say, "What have I done?" every time that you hit a female character. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Can you like, if you hit a multi-hit, does it start the sound effect and then do it again? What have I done?
Every time. And then just Blackbeard is like, yeah, no, I just think Blackbeard is interesting gameplay-wise because he's a very big character, which I think you always need a lot of in fighting games. He is like... So he's a large, big-body character. He's an antagonist, and he has interesting powers with like the dark fruit and the... One Piece Grand Battle, actually, is the one that I was thinking of.
Oh, was it? Because Grand Adventure, I think, is the Power Stone one. Maybe Grand Battle 3 was also a Power Stone. I can't remember if that's on PS2 or not.
Oh, somebody said Grand Adventure. That is in the chat. That's objectively wrong and reporting it for misinformation.
Oh, no. Fuck, we're gonna get banned.
True. But he's also got, because he's got Whitebeard's powers later on, so there's a lot to kind of work with just with all of that alone, but... There should be one more character on this row, and it's a very funny one.
Hey!
This is Bobobo from the series Bobobo Bobobo.
Tell the story as to why you picked it, please.
Because does he need a reason?
Okay, so last night they were making like final adjustments to the roster, and they were like, "Man, I'm considering Bobobo. I don't know if I should do it." And I just said, "Look, I'm gonna go to bed. I have one condition. If you do Bobobo, you have to use this icon specifically." And then he said, "God damn it, I'm doing Bobobo now."
Yeah, I saw that icon. I was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I do want to do it. You sold me. I am not explaining anything about this character's playstyle because I do not have 5 years, so we're moving on.
I wanted to put Bobobo on my roster as well. I just didn't have space. I gave up on it.
All I'm gonna say is a janky grappler character. I'm giving him funny grapples, and I'm also going to give him summons for Dawn Patch because I think it's funny. It'll be like God, what's that Sonic fan made fighting game where Vector has like Armika assist spreads?
What the fuck?
Sonic Smackdown,
Smackdown,
yeah. Here's Naruto, and just reveal the next one.
Yeah. Naruto.
Hi Naruto, hi Sasuke. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah. It's Naruto and edgy Naruto.
It's Naruto and Sasuke. I don't really know what you want.
But where's Boruto?
Dead.
Oh.
Fun fact, actually, we were looking at a list of like franchises that Weekly Shonen Jump put out as franchises that they consider to be major IP for them. Boruto's not on it.
Lamau.
The funniest part about that is Burn the
One
Witch
Piece time skip is on it.
Wait, Burn the Witch is on it?
Yeah, Burn the Witch and
wow.
It's both the One Piece time skip specifically as a separate series. Both of them are on there, but not Boruto. I said this I said this publicly, and I genuinely think it. I think Boruto might be one of the most successful series that nobody gives a shit about.
Yeah, and as we're cleaning up, we're moving into finally. It's really funny how close together the big three are, which is, to be fair, they got that name because they all came out around the same time. But
Yeah.
it's just funny that there's very little between them. Yeah, no, we got Ichigo. It's Ichigo. He's got the. So we're back to Ichigo with the big sword as the default, which is great. And he's also got another smaller sword, which is incredible.
Whoa.
I love other smaller swords. But he's got the final Bankai that he uses against Yuabaha as the obvious awakening or level 3 super. Really solid midweight swordsman with a blade beam, and in most of the fighting games he also has a move that functions like Smash Clim Hazard. So he's just Cloud. Just imagine Smash Cloud. And then we have next, of course. I had somebody question me if this character was going to be on the roster. I asked them if they'd ever met me. Here, say hello to one of my favorite manga characters, Rukia from Bleach. Very interesting ice user. Uses a much smaller sword than Ichigo. Is a little bit more speed oriented outside of just the flash step, which Ichigo uses a lot. I imagine that she would be more. I don't want to say more akin to a sort of fencing playstyle, but something that is a lot more reliant on multi-hit attacks, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of her moves with the three dances are very kind of they're very graceful, single hit freezing attacks. So then we've got. Yeah, I'm not spending too much time on the Bleach characters, so that is all for Naruto and Bleach for now.
My favorite Bleach character.
Yeah, we'll get some more later. Yeah, no, Gintoki. We already talked a lot about Gintoki earlier.
He can do the final Getsuga Tensho as well.
True. He is functionally Gintoki is like a swordsman, even though it's a wooden sword. A really funny gag character with a lot of really funny stuff that he has access to. Give him the Kamehameha, and if you're giving him an awakening form, it would be really funny if his super form is just flashback Gintoki, when he just becomes a serious anime character from a real show.
You just big puff of smoke, and he suddenly goes back to.
He's just got the headband on, and he's just going sicko mode.
Kenshin. Yeah. Kenshin is an interesting one, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say this out loud. Kenshin and Toriko are not on this roster anywhere.
Yeah.
No,
I think,
not Toriko. He's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenshin is one I like. I really ummed and ahed about. I didn't really want to include him for reasons, but he's technically Kenshin does get included in basically all of these. But I already have Tanjiro's already there as a samurai. Gintoki's already there as a samurai. We don't need Kenshin here at all.
We can hand wave and justify not having him here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's Deku. Deku, as was mentioned earlier, he's really gotten a glow up in terms of moveset potential since the last time he appeared in one of these games when he was just Punch Man and Punch Man with Wind Gust.
Mm-hmm.
He is I don't know how exactly to describe it, but he is kind of an all-in-one now. He's got so many different
Swiss Army
superpowers
knife.
he has access to, which makes him a really interesting parallel to.
Where we at, dude? Where we at? Lost it. He's lost the build-up.
True. I decided to be funny.
Yay! You used my icon.
True. So here's Shigaraki. You might be wondering, isn't All For One the main antagonist of JJK above Shigaraki? Cool. We don't care.
Yeah, I was explaining
Literally,
All For One to you last night. All For One might. I don't think any fictional character has gone over worse than All For One because, nobody has ever, and I hope never will, give a shit about All for One.
Literally,
He sucks.
literally the
Yeah.
crying baby versus the hydrogen bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Shigaraki is really interesting because it gives us like, I think having the characters for MHA being a hero and a villain is like an interesting concept, and it gives us a good villain rep. Probably one of the more interesting characters from MHA. He's got a lot of he's got access to a lot of different superpowers. With his final kit, and I think it would be really interesting to give him a mechanic similar to like. I wouldn't say similar to Kirby by any means, but similar to like Android 21 in DBFZ, where you can just absorb powers from certain people. It's kind of also like Rogue in the X-Men Capcom games, where you can like hit certain characters with a command grab, and depending on the character, it will give you a different type of move. Like maybe it'll give you a projectile, maybe it'll give you a big like sword attack with like an energy blade or something like that.
He also offers a lot of like banter and dynamic potential for other characters, because like a lot of these characters are heroes and he'd like pontificate at them, and then a lot of villains you could argue like, oh, he'd try to recruit them to his army. So there's like dynamic for character personalities there.
He's a funny guy, and the gamer girls are gonna love him. I gotta stop quoting that Kingdom Hearts interview. I don't even know where. I blame Brian. Let's move on to we got the next one. Probably don't have a whole lot to say about Asta. Hi Asta. It's he's got a big sword. He's got all the anti-magic, which is like, I think that you could work the anti-magic in an interesting way into being like a projectile counter for him, with the way that it inherently like absorbs like magical implements. You could just make it absorb any energy projectiles. I think that the funny thing is the anti-magic just having so many properties that are basically just like an element of magic, because he can use it in so many different ways, is very entertaining. Very obvious install form. Big sword, I think I already mentioned that, but I'm a little more interested to talk about our next character.
So
Here is...
that's a choice.
So I was talking with Huff, and I actually was not going to have a character from The Promised Neverland until he started selling me on concepts for character, because I don't think that I don't like the idea of just here is child with gun.
Not
And-
even child with gun, untrained child with gun.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so I was looking for options for Promised Neverland for characters that like fight and are not the children, and we were going after, not going after. We were going over it yesterday and having a long conversation, and he was like, "Hey, you can do Yugo, or you can do like Luvis, or you can do the Queen." And he showed me Sanju, and I was like, "Hey, this guy's got a really cool design. What's he about?" And he's like, "Well, he shows up and is like, he's one of these demons in the series, which are like pretty much exclusively antagonists in a horror franchise, and he is like an uneasy ally." And he's got Mujika following him around, which kind of her powers enable them to like not have to eat humans, which allows him to sort of be this very interesting, allows him to be this very interesting, like moral quandary character. And I think it would be interesting in a fighting game because he's very tall. He's got archery skills. He fights with a spear, and he's very physically strong, which means that I think he would make for an extremely interesting, moveset concept for something like this. And I also just think the concept of having a big series like Promised Neverland that is like a big important series for the company, represented by a kind of like left field choice, is like a kind of the right way to handle something like that.
Yeah, Sanju is an interesting choice. I always sort of default to Lewis whenever it's Promised Neverland character, because he's like the most popular antagonist from the series, and would fit quite well. But
We can,
Sonju does technically
yeah.
work as well, pretty well.
We can work on these next two. Just knock these out of the way. I don't have a whole lot to say about them. I'm not a Demon Slayer person.
You did the
I'm
same
aware.
as me.
I'm aware Rengoku is like kind of a boring choice for the second. I considered Shinobu. I considered Muzan, but people don't seem to care about Muzan. I considered like
nobody cares of him.
yeah, I considered Zenitsu briefly before being like, I don't want to do another one of the main four. All I have to say is I also believe that Nezuko would be an assist character for Tanjiro, and I just chose Rengoku because he seems like a cool, funny character, and people seem to really like him. So, as someone that does not know anything really about Demon Slayer and doesn't really personally have interest in Demon Slayer, I chose the character that the people seem to want the most. I have hopefully chosen well.
Giving in to the people's demands.
Yeah, here's we can move into the next two. Here's my boy Him Todori, and my boy Gojo. So
Yo, I love Among Us.
yeah, there's your JJK. JJK is one of my favorite things running right now. Itadori is a punch kick merchant, but I think he's a really interesting punch kick merchant for a fighting game like this because he never just comes up and hits somebody unless it's with like the Black Flash. It's like he's always, you see him throwing hands with people, and it's always, it jumps in the air, punch, kick, or like kick, punch. He's like throwing all these crazy, combos out. And I think that would make him a really fun, high speed, high execution kind of, maybe not necessarily a Rekka, but definitely a character that has like a lot of fun technical martial arts stuff going on. And I think the funny thing that it would be to do with him is, so for his awakening form, it would just be, I don't know, it would be clothing damage and he gets covered in cursed energy or whatever. But for a funny effect, like a funny super that he could have access to, me and my buddy Jason for a long time have been talking about, wouldn't it be really cool if, based on like the current point in the anime at the very least, if you're playing as Itadori and you like die with a certain amount of like meter, you can just pull a Jean Grey from MVC3 and revive as Sukuna, which makes you incredibly powerful and gives you new moves at the cost of like your 2 assists just leave. Like they are either they leave or like your attacks now hit them if you call them out, because Sukuna doesn't care. So the idea just being that like if you play your cards right, you can have him transform into this extremely powerful character that has these like big drawbacks to him coming out because he's so destructive. And like, if you win a match as Sukuna, then suddenly you have a completely different set of like win quotes, and I think it would be a lot of fun. And then Gojo's a character that we went back and forth over whether or not he works in a game like this, just because of Infinity. I think handling him like UI Goku would make him work very well. Just give him the ability to like walk through projectiles and give him like a really funny counter move that is basically just like the Infinity on like a normal like UI Goku has. And make him like a weird zoner character with blue and red pushing opponents away and pulling them back in to get them into the space that you want them to be. Hollow purple as a super domain expansion as a super. I think Gojo would be a lot of fun. And then next one, not a whole lot to say about the next one. Denji. I mean, he's Denji.
His head goes burr.
Yeah, head goes burr, arms go burr. He can use his chainsaw cords to like tether people, which I think is a really fun application of that. This is kind of just a character where you look at the character design and the moveset potential just immediately pops into your head. So I'm not going to talk too long about that. I'm instead going to actually talk about the next character.
Oh shit.
This is another really weird one that I have right here. So this is Kyoichiro Yozakura from Mission Yozakura family. He is not the main character of that manga, but he is a pretty important character in it. So I decided not to choose Taiyo because I thought that Taiyo was kind of boring. I felt like he would have stepped on the toes of Train, who I was heavily considering. And considering I decided not to do Train, I wasn't going to do Taiyo. But I thought Kyocho was funny because so this character is a weirdo and he sucks. And as we established with Dark Schneider, I love characters like that.
Yeah.
But also, his weapon is garrote wire. I don't know if anybody here has watched, Hellsing, but it's very similar to what Walter has in that. He has this like razor sharp piano wire, being basically a mobster, that he can use in all of these interesting ways. He can lay traps that can cut people when they, when they move into it. He can shoot out balls of the garrote wire, that can like ensnare people. He can like move it all around. Like he's got these gloves that allow him to just kind of like swing it around. So you have this character just fights with like piano wire, and it's a very fun concept. As I was doing the research for it, I was kind of immediately.
Kyochiro is a very good choice. He's like the naturally, like after Taiyo, given that Taiyo is obviously the main character, Kyochiro is very naturally like the second main choice to have for this, for a game like this.
Like I mentioned with Sanju and like I mentioned with Sanju and Mujika, I do think that sometimes it's like really interesting, if not important, to like represent certain franchises with a pick that is more interesting and makes about as much sense as opposed to the pick that is the protagonist.
And yeah, Kyochiro definitely does fit that. He's like, it's strong enough, important enough, and has a cool move set that he absolutely fits in a fighting game like this.
Yeah.
Like, especially compared with all the other choices, I guess, from Mission Yozakura family. There's like a lot of fun fighting game choices, but I think Kyochiro is easily like the most interesting, unless you want to get really modern and have like the twins or something.
I'm also gonna
way too modern.
Yeah, I'm also gonna just let's just kind of reveal the next two because these are both characters that were on Nanten's.
Okay.
Sorry about that. My mouse cursor got lost. I have 3 monitors, so sometimes it's like somewhere and I can't find it. So I jiggle my mouse around until I see it.
Yo, the wiggler.
There it is.
Here's Annie and Fuko. So the way that I handled it was sort of, like Nanten, it's very Farah and Tor. From Mortal Kombat X, you have like Andy is running around and Fuko is basically like next to him or like hanging onto his back or something. And the way that they work is like Andy's got like the regeneration stuff, so he will cut off his fingers and shoot them off like bullets, or do the thing where he like slits his leg tendons to like jet around like Lord Raptor. You've got like all of the funny stuff with just him using the combination of his sword and his regenerative capabilities as a fighting game character, which is already very Jetadoma. Like that alone is a really interesting concept for a fighting game moveset. But then you get also like Fuko is present, and you have the unluck mechanics, which could be implemented in several different ways. I don't even actually know how I'd go about it personally, but I think the idea, like Nan mentioned, of just having it be a move that they have access to, where Fuko just like basically tags Andy with the unluck, and you have to like get within a certain range of your opponent to like trigger a random effect that has some crazy negative like Smash Hero nonsense happen. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And then Roboco is just Roboco. You can do literally anything with Roboco. It's a robot gag character. So
yeah.
Then we have the last character on the base roster. This is the newest character on the roster.
Oh boy!
So this is who I decided to go with instead of Train Hardnet from Black Cat.
Yeah, I get that because I considered having Sakamoto as well and decided to have Train instead.
It came down to Sakamoto gets compared a lot to John Wick. He uses a lot of relatively average everyday items in like a very deadly implement sort of way. He's got a big arsenal of like handguns, shotguns, rifles, and stuff like that. And he has probably the funniest awakening in the game, where he just rapidly loses all of his weight when he wants to get serious, and then just gains it back whenever he's done.
Once it's done.
But yeah, no, like, it came down to, did I want a character like Train that has like one gun that is a large revolver that can be used in a bunch of different ways, because he has like the Black Claw and all that stuff, and the railgun that he gets later on in the manga? Or do I want a character that just has like an arsenal? And I decided to go with the route of having like the arsenal, because I thought that would just A, be more fitting, and B, I think a lot of people would be expecting Sakamoto to be here just because it's a big new like manga that's been gaining a lot of steam.
Yeah, I think the one thing Sakamoto has holding him back is he's like one of the only few series that somehow doesn't have an anime announced yet. Like, all of the big series, like obviously Mission Yozakura Family starts this year, and Elusive Samurai also starts this year. And I think they've been teasing Witch Watch, but it hasn't been announced yet. But Sakamoto doesn't have anything yet somehow.
I did see somebody in the chat said this roster feels too basic. You're missing recency and weird picks. I mean, I do have an entire row and then some of post 2010 characters. To be fair,
A row and a half, exactly.
I tried my best with weird picks. I did like pad a lot of the obvious franchises out a decent amount, just because I feel like that's what a lot of people want. That's what a lot of people expect to see, and that's kind of what I want and expect to see too, because I like a lot of these franchises. But I did try to get my weird stuff in. I put Wingman on the roster, so I was trying.
It's because you don't have Kagurabachi on here. That's the problem.
Rude.
You're lacking the real.
Chihiro would actually be the most recent on the roster if I did it.
His name is Kagurabachi!
His name is Chihiro. I'm not doing the meme. But he does Kagurabachi all over the place. That's really true.
Yeah, I love it when he Kagurabachi's out.
So I actually chose... There are 2000s reps. I agree. Actually, that's why I wanted to do Train, but I just decided to... I kind of have a bad habit of, like, when I do rosters, it ends up mostly being pre-2000s retro stuff and post-2010 modern stuff, so 2000 stuff just kind of ends up being the big names.
I mean,
like Smash Bros.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to happen, I think, because they'll always pick whatever's recent. It's like, whatever the actual next Shonen Jump game that happens, like, Mashle, I feel like is a guarantee, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Mashle and Kinnikuman are the two biggest franchises that I don't have here, and I still feel pretty bad for not having them. But I just wasn't that interested.
In reference to Suna, we actually had multiple talks about that fucker. The problem with him is the most popular MHA character kind of does the same exact thing.
It's true.
Speaking of which, actually, Slink, can you go ahead and hit DLC 1? Hi, Tsunayoshi Sawada from Reborn.
Yeah, they unfortunately do the same thing. And one of them is more popular.
Tsunayoshi doesn't explode, okay?
Well, he shoots fire out of his gloves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, the X burner is an explosion.
Yeah.
I do like Suna. I think Suna is a lot of fun in J-Star's Victory versus. It's just I had to, I was pressed for time. Or was pressed for space, actually. So something that I did with this DLC, I'm going to be transparent right here before we start. I decided to, because we have 9 DLC characters. I wanted to do it like, all right, we have 1 season of 4, a second season of 4, and then a bonus DLC character that gets added because they figure out some licensing issues. That last DLC character is the only new franchise in the DLC. The rest are additional characters for franchises already in the roster, because that's just what, like, I feel like the DLC would be, just because licensing for these series is a nightmare.
That was my original plan with my DLC as well. It only just happened to fall in that I ended up having the characters from the base roster and but I still wanted them in, so I had to keep them around somehow. Yeah,
so here is Madara as the Naruto villain. I'm sure a lot of people were wondering where the Naruto antagonist was before. Here you go. Here's Madara. It came down to I was actually arguing with myself about whether to do Madara, Orochimaru, and Obito up until like the last minute, and that led to a really interesting discussion where I was actually going to do Obito for a while before just deciding, hey, if he's going to be DLC, Madara is the person that people are going to want to pay $5.99 for, just like the same reason that a lot of the DLC characters are going to be, here's the popular character that isn't here yet, because people will pay money for them, so that's why they're DLC. It's like how Virgil is always DLC, because you can get away with not having Virgil in the base game, but he is so popular that you know people will buy him. And there's a lot of cases like that. It did prevent us from having the worst slot that I've ever made appear on the stream.
Oh no!
So I will leave that up to Slink whether they want to show that.
Jesus Christ!
And if not, we can just move on to
will
DLC.
Not be
stream.
showing the icon of the non-binary icon.
Will not be showing the Orochimaru icon. I'm just gonna say what it is. Will not be showing the Orochimaru icon that has the Boruto design and says MILF on it.
Shouldn't it be not and Bilf?
It's true.
Don't worry about it. Orochimaru doesn't worry about it, so why should we? Let's see here. That's why they're based. Shame about the war crimes, though. DLC 3. Yeah, here's Power. So I think we're going to have a Power sweep, actually, just because Power is like the most obvious second Chainsaw Man character, and I think we all agree that Chainsaw Man warrants a second character. Really fun, character with a really neat moveset concept. You have like the blood-consumed form where her horns grow for like an obvious, install form. Being able to create the weapon constructs is a lot of fun. Not a whole lot to say. It's Power. Power's fun. We're going to see her again, probably. Let's see here. What's 4?
Oh boy.
Here we go. Here's the end of season 1. Here's Yuabawa. As I was talking about it with Brian, we were actually talking about whether to do Ishida or Yuabawa, and I'm glad that we did Yuabawa because you had Ishida on yours.
Yeah.
It actually was going to probably come down between because I knew I wanted an antagonist, and it was going to be okay. Is it Ukioro? Is it like? That's not how you pronounce it. God, I always mess it up because I've never seen the English pronunciation of it. Brian insisted to me multiple times it is in fact pronounced Yuhabaha. So that is just what I've been going with because it is based on like Genova, like Yahweh, like that is the exact.
I think there's like a hard back. I think for like the CH. I think is like it's definitely Yuha for the start. But I think the second half has like a.
Hold on, I'm going to the Bleach wiki. Yuhabaha. It's pronounced Yuhabaha.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no,
yeah, I've been harassing you about it for like a week that it's pronounced that way.
Yeah, listen, I'm not Kubo. I don't know what goes on in that man's head. But yeah, no, I was considering like Ukiura for the the Arankars because I think he's got a really interesting design, but it's like he's mostly just an assistant to Aizen, so I was going to do Aizen, and I was like, you know what? I want the Quincy. Give me the Quincy. So just as a Quincy, he can use Reishi in all of these really interesting ways. He creates a giant bow and shoots himself out of it, which is an inherently hilarious concept for a move. He like creates a great sword out of like spiritual energy. He is one of the few Quincy's that uses a bladed weapon, so he's a very large character that has a sword. I just felt that he would be a lot of fun to play as. I thought he would be a very interesting pick. So we're moving into season 2 of the DLC. We got
oh boy, Utah.
Yeah, so here's my bias pick. Here's a franchise that you might be wondering, hey, how come Demon Slayer has 2 characters, but Jujutsu Kaisen has 3? I am biased. There's the reason. I mean, Yuta is an everything machine for moveset potential. Having access to Rika and all of the cursed abilities that grants him makes him just such a fascinating character for like this sort of discussion because he's a swordsman. He has cursed speech. He can use a bunch of cursed tools. He has, Rika, who is basically a big stand monster that hangs out on his shoulder and can be sent out as like a puppet fighter. This character rules for a fighting game concept. So I just really wanted to do Yuta.
You say you have bias, but I had 4 Jujutsu Kaisen characters on my roster.
True.
But Yuta is a very good pick. I actually didn't even think about him. To be honest, I kind of wish I did instead of Gojo.
Yeah,
So I will
I
also
asked
say-
them to do Yuta because I wanted to do Yuta. Yuta's my favorite character from the favorite of the 4 protagonists that the series has. But I had too many fucking swordsmen.
Yeah, Megumi is a really interesting concept for a fighting game. I knew though that Huff was going to do Megumi, so I decided not to.
Yeah.
So then we get next. I'll probably just knock out the next 2. When we're talking about characters that are like you can miss them on the base roster, but people will pay money for them. So they are really obvious inclusions for DLC because people really like them. Hello, Seto Kaiba and Hiei. Welcome to the club. Get in here. We've been waiting for you, fellas. Yeah, no, Kaiba is much the same core playstyle as Yugi in terms of being, he uses the cards. He's a summoner. He can do trap-based stuff with the, the drawing, the spell cards and the trap cards. He's just a lot bigger about it because he uses obviously all of those dragon cards, which are very large, which means that he would probably have significantly slower but more flashy and larger range attacks. And then Hiei is just a very very fast character, swordsman. He's very getting all over the place, all up in your face with his sword and the shadow energy. And he's also really funny. Me and my buddies were watching Yu Yu Hakusho last year, and we just kept making jokes about Hiei because he's so self-serious. He's a very entertaining and likable character. And then we have just the last of the main DLC characters with I also did this for Black Clover. I did I don't know if it's on screen right now yet.
Noelle instead of you.
Yeah, Noelle. I'm just gonna be completely honest. I don't care about I get why. I think he could be fairly interesting in a game like this. The issue is just that Megumi is a fair consideration. You're gonna have Sasuke. You're gonna have Killua probably. So you have a lot of these quote unquote rival characters that have these kind of similar designs and kind of personality that it's a trope that it exists because it works. But I thought that Noelle was just more interesting. The element that she uses is a lot of fun for a fighting game concept, and it just kind of doesn't have it doesn't hurt to have more female characters on a Jump roster because you take what you can get in that regard. And then we have the DLC character that I mentioned was a special case because people would be asking, hey, where's this character? Where's this character? And it probably wouldn't be on the base roster because of licensing issues. Here's your post-launch event. Here, get your Seiya today. Did you really think Seiya wasn't going to be on here? Come on. I don't have Kinnikumen and I don't have Mashal, but I'm not going to not have Seiya. Seiya is a really fun concept for a fighting game like this just because he's got burst movement option, he's got rapid punch, and he has an Izuna drop. So he's just got this very eclectic group of moves that is I think a really interesting mix for a game like this. He's a very I don't know how to describe it. He's a very SNK feeling character compared to a lot of the more ArcSys or Capcom feeling characters in terms of the way that he throws hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Can you guys talk about some stuff for a little bit? I need to get some water.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Root.
Mm-hmm.
So we can just respond to some stuff in the chat real quick. Is amazing and the slander bothers me. I don't have anything against I just thought that Noelle would make for a more interesting pick just on the research that I had done and what little I've consumed for for Black Clover, who's the go-to pick for a fourth One Piece character. For my roster, which is the one on screen, I mentioned what I would do for 4 characters is Luffy, another Straw Hat, a villain, and a non-Straw Hat ally. So like Sabo or Yamato or like Law or somebody. I think Law is really cool. I'd probably do Sabo right now.
Yeah, I'm going to say Law is a really cool one, but his sort of relevancy is kind of... I mean, he's still important to the series, but we've gone past the arcs now where he's been the most relevant, and I'm pretty sure Jump Force already used Law, didn't he?
Jump Force used Law and Sabo.
Oh, he used both of them. Oh, okay.
If I had to pick 4 for One Piece, I'd do Luffy, Zoro, Blackbeard, and then either Yamato or Eustace Kid.
Interesting, the other side of things. Yep. See, I love Yamato. They should have left with the Straw Hats in Wano. But I feel like their relevancy for the current stuff has also severely passed.
Yeah, the reason why I was leaning those two specifically is because I had a character from the time skip.
Yeah, see, if we were doing
somebody relevant, you know?
I think with One Piece, it kind of, when it's still running and all that, kind of depends on when you do this. Like, if we had done this roster like a year ago, I would have probably had Luffy, Kaido, Yamato, and like Law as my 4 picks on there. Or maybe not Yamato and Law and Kid, actually. Like Luffy, Law, Kid, and Kaido.
I consider doing Kaido. I think he's too big, and that normally wouldn't be an issue because you can just scale him down. But I was wondering if maybe like that would be an issue because maybe they have like some licensing restrictions that you can't downsize a character like that.
I don't necessarily know, but I mean it might depend. One Piece fighting games tend to scale down.
Yeah, but that's like a One Piece fighting game, not a crossover. That's just even
it's true. It's hard to say because they had Akainu and he's also very tall, but I can't remember how he fits in with everyone else in J-Stars.
Also, he's one of the tallest
characters
in that game.
Yeah.
To answer a question in chat, anything past the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not viable for this because they are not in Weekly Shonen Jump.
Not only are they not in Weekly Shonen Jump, Konami wholly owns the rights to those, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So OG series is actually the only thing that Shueisha has any claim to stake to.
No. Studio Dice owns those. Not
okay. Thank you for your correction, Slink. Also, hi, welcome back.
Lucius is I mean, he's the most relevant pick for a Black Clover villain, but I don't think it's that interesting. I'm going to be real. Like, if we're thinking of, it depends on when you want what part of the series you want to cover, and I think that's a big thing for a lot of these characters. Like, it depends on, because if you're going to have, let's say, with My Hero Academia, if you're going to have modern day current Deku from the manga, then the version of Shigaraki you're going to have is also the modern current day one. If you're going to have 1,000-Year Blood War Ichigo, then Yuha back makes more sense, I think, to have than Ulquiorra, because it kind of matches with what's currently going on. Like, I think, if you were going to have current modern day Asta and Noel, then Lucius makes most sense as the current villain. But I think, like, if we're talking about, like, iconic Black Clover villains, then the first one, I can't say he's iconic, but I can't remember his name. The elf guy, he's like the most important one, I think, to have. But he obviously it wouldn't match current day Asta if you're going. And I think there needs to be some thematic consistency. It's like if you have Dio, then you should also have Jotaro because they're the two from the same parts.
Yeah, but I also like the idea of some series representing different parts, so you could have like I don't know, fucking Deku from the beginning of the series and Shigaraki from the end point, something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, James said no Psyche yet. Well, I guess, we'll find out if Psyche's in yours or not, Huff. I guess we'll move on to that now. Now that Slink is back.
Alright. Slink, can you show the thing I DM'd you if you can? This got cut off from one of our prior streams this morning that happened. I just wanted to show this off again to say, hey, I don't really like Shonen Jump or a lot of their series. This is how much research I put into this. I did enough research. Never say I don't do anything for you fuckers.
He's been reading manga basically every day since we. So the poll for this, like the poll for doing Shonen Jump, was ran in mid-November after the Disney roster, but we had the Smash Bros stuff going on in December, and we were busy for most of this month, so we had to schedule this for the end of January. He has been reading manga for like 2.5 months.
And I didn't care for most of it. So,
Thank you for the dedication.
just let it be known, I put in the effort, motherfucker. Okay, anyway, starting off, Slink, please just reveal them in order of the number, but for this first row, just do them all.
Wow, I'm so shocked.
I feel like there's no real discussion that can be added to these, because, like, what do you want me to say here? You know?
Which version of Goku is it? Is it Super Saiyan? Is
Uh,
it Super Saiyan?
It's
Blue?
specifically from GT.
Hell yeah.
Nah,
You gotta have
GT Goku's washed. So
You gotta have Dragon Ball Daima Goku instead. You gotta promote the recency stuff.
here's what you do. It's GT Goku. So all of his special moves are fumbling every fight that he's in and running away.
Good. Also, Slink, I believe I fucked... because I did a bit in this row, the order's reversed, so can you just, like, reveal them top to bottom? Or bottom to top for this row? Yeah, just start with here's your second Dragon Ball character. The name of the icon is the only good Dragon Ball character, by the way.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to Farmer with Shotgun, he's my favorite.
He's in.
Okay, yeah, just throw on the next fucker. Yeah.
I wanted to say this when I was doing my roster, but I was going to wait for yours because I knew that this is the one you were doing. I know a lot of people, it's like, so we all agreed that like Goku, Vegeta, Frieza is like the 3 that you need for Dragon Ball. So I was I was like, oh man, I wanted to do Piccolo because I think he's a lot of fun. He's an interesting character. He's a cool character, but just didn't have room for him. Those 3 are the ones that you need. I actually fully agree. If you have to choose between Goku Vegeta and Goku Frieza, I actually think the correct answer is Goku Frieza. Frieza is a lot more interesting from a moveset perspective because he's a full zoner.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah,
I felt like Frieza worked better as DLC for mine, so which is over Vegeta. So that's why I kept Vegeta in instead. But you have a good point.
Okay, the next one is a little bit controversial because nobody's brought this guy up. And it's not the character anybody would really expect because everybody goes for Hiei for the second character for Yu Yu.
I think I know.
Is it? Oh, Kurama.
Yeah, I think Kurama offers more in terms of moveset potential and differentiating themselves from other characters on the cast than Hiei does. Like, Hiei is popular and does a lot of unique stuff, but I feel like with a lot of the other characters here, they don't stand out as much as I would like them, and at that point, I'd rather pick a character that rarely gets used. I don't even remember if he has been in one of these.
He's in the DS games.
Yeah, he's in Jump Ultimate Stars.
Okay.
Stars.
Yeah, and I just feel like with his natural power set, he would just be the most interesting for a roster like this, straight up.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I said,
The Blackbeard.
the bigger IPs, I didn't really do a lot of research into because I knew them through osmosis. So, like, unfortunately for these bigger ones, I really don't have a lot to say on them. Because, yeah,
I think we've probably got all picks that we've already discussed.
you'd be shocked. Blackbeard. The reason why I chose him is because when I think about One Piece, I think about grand scale and big fucker. And the go-to secondary character for One Piece is almost always Zoro, right? Like I said, I have enough swordsmen on here, and Blackbeard doesn't really... Blackbeard provides the more unique and weird characters that I know the series for, whereas Zoro really doesn't do that for me. So, yeah, guess what? I made a roster without Zoro. Yell at me.
Yeah, so did I. You're fine.
Oh yeah, that's right. You didn't either.
Yeah, I didn't have Zoro. I had Blackbeard as well. It's my second choice. Birds of a feather.
Yeah. Next up is we don't even have to say anything about him. He doesn't use swear words.
Safe for work.
Sakuragi.
Yeah. Sakuragi. I made a comment at the start of this saying, "Hey, it's very annoying that none of these franchises have never done a sport character or a romance character as a fully fledged character." And frankly, that makes up a lot, like, honestly, the bulk of Shonen Jump. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of sports manga in Shonen Jump.
They own so many sports series, it's insane. They probably own more successful sports series than they own Battle Shonen, straight up.
Yeah,
and
probably.
I wanted to represent that.
There's probably a manga for every single sport out there.
Straight up, yeah. They have one for American football.
Oh yeah,
American football doesn't exist there.
Ice Shield 21. That's actually the other big sports one, like Captain Tsubasa, that you could probably get away with, just because it's American football, and it's also drawn by Murata, so it's already over the top.
I looked at almost all the sports series. I looked at Haikyuu, Kuroko's, Roku Denensha Blues was the one I was leaning towards because I found the most interesting, but I wound up going with Sakuragi because he's just the biggest one. He is objectively the biggest one of the lot, and basketball is probably a more usable sport out of the non-combative ones, and I feel like people just play as him more. So, and I didn't want to pick the guy from Eye Shield, whose name I'm blanking on, unfortunately, because, God, it would be really weird if in this series based around Japanese manga, you pick the one that didn't appeal to Japan. It would just be weird. So, yeah. Can you just reveal the next two now, Slink? I have nothing more to say on Rukia. We've talked about her enough, and I went with All Might because I'm of the mindset that I think All Might is the most popular and well-known thing about My Hero Academia. The fight scene of Nomu versus All Might is still one of the most viewed videos on YouTube for anime specifically. Like, that was huge. So I opted to go with All Might. Granted, he's not as interesting as some of the other characters, but I had the idea of a gimmick for him where he has a meter of how much All Might juice he has left, and before he becomes Small Might, and then you're forced to be a handicapped character. Yeah, and I see people commenting on it in the chat, and yeah, I only did 2 characters per franchise. Because I don't care. I wanted to represent more series because I just wanted to. For Demon Slayer, I chose Nezuko because another female is good. I thought having a demon represent, or partial demon, I don't know how you want to word it, represent the series would be good. And I've seen people say you shouldn't do it because you shouldn't, like, she's not really a formative combatant, but later on in the series, she does become more of a combatant and has more powers. I feel like it's more justifiable, and plus, the fighting game for Demon Slayer did it. So, yeah. I feel no issue. I feel no qualm with this.
Yeah, no, I think there's no problem with having Nezuko. Like I said, I also considered having Nezuko and then just sort of decided, actually, nah, I'm just going to have one Demon Slayer for the base roster.
Yeah, it also prevented me from having to pick another fucking swordsman.
Yeah.
Because you can make swordsman unique. Demon Slayer, like, the magic system that you see in the animation is all made up. It's not real. So, just like... breathing. they're demons. They're just swordsmen with no extra flavor. They're just swordsmen. There's nothing more to them, really, unfortunately. Next up we have Megami. I like Megami. I think Megami offers a lot here as a summoner type character, and kind of don't have much to say because we already talked about him, unfortunately. Yeah, so next up. Just follow the number.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of fucked it up because I had a bit planned for 2 rows, and you'll see the next bit is in the next row, and next 2 rows, unfortunately. So, yeah, Saint Seiya, popular, iconic. I don't like Saint Seiya, but I kind of felt like it was obligated to be here. I tried watching a little bit of Saint Seiya for this. No. I'm sorry, I don't like it. But it offers a grappler character, very popular, especially in regions not America and Japan, which would help push it in other regions, which is a good thing. So, yeah. Next, Goober.
You did go for Kenshin.
Yeah, I know that the series is controversial because the author, and it should be because of the author, because Jesus Christ. But a friend of mine really wanted me to do Kenshin, so I chose to do Kenshin for him. So, if you're watching this, hi, I did Kenshin for you. You owe me $10. He's one of the more influential characters that Shonen Jump has. Basically, almost all of the series that came out after it cite Kenshin as being a partial influence. And it just really is unfortunate that the author is awful. But, yeah, if I was gonna pick another generic samurai, I guess Kenshin is a good choice for that. So, next up. Yeah, it's Yugi. Another summoner type character, very popular, especially just online in general. He's in most of these for a reason. We've talked about him enough.
Yeah, the better samurai of the trio.
Yeah, the funny samurai, the funny little guy. I also really like that icon I made.
It is. If I wasn't being lazy and just using the icons that were already there, I was going to make this icon myself.
Yeah, I also made a matching Kagura icon just because
Nice.
I wanted to. I might show that off later. Gintoki, like, Gintama is one of those... Gintama is an anomaly to me, to be honest, because it's so vocal of a fan base for a series that is really big, but just not really talked about in Jump because it's not a generic battle shonen. And I wanted to represent Jump for what Jump is. Jump isn't just battle combat series. Jump also has a shit ton of gag, romance, sports, etc. It is a grab bag.
Yeah, I think Gintama's an odd one in that I think it's like one of the only mid-2000s popular manga series that it doesn't have a complete official translation over in the West. Like, it has a partial one. Viz translated like the first 23 volumes of Gintama.
Yeah.
And then just kind of stopped because it just was too hard to translate and wasn't very successful. And then the anime like exploded like worldwide in popularity. And so now it's in this weird place where it's not big enough that Viz feel justified to go back and continue their translation of it after so long. But they can't start it from scratch again because then they're going to waste all of the effort they did prior. And without that, it means that you can't read Gintama and stuff on like any of the like Manga Plus or Viz apps.
Yeah,
so getting the manga is actually kind of difficult in the West.
Unfortunate that it's like that, and it's not even the main reason why it's like that is because the series doesn't translate well to English because it's so heavily steeped in Japanese culture and witticisms that it what's the word I'm looking for? Like dialect that you can translate it, but the jokes wouldn't make as much sense.
Yeah, like the official translation attempts to do this by any time they reference a Japanese actor and make a joke about it, they try and find an equivalent with an American actor. Like, I'm pretty sure the official translation for Viz has like a Tobey Maguire joke at some point in it. Or like really early on, because the people would probably get that more than they would get whatever random Japanese comedian they were taking the piss out of at the time. But it's hard to have to do that, especially when you don't know how well it will even sell.
Yeah, it was a gamble for them, and the anime paid off. The manga in America just didn't, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Anyway, Slink, you want to reveal the next one, who I actually have a bit to talk about on? This is going to be the most irrelevant character on the roster.
Yeah, I actually don't know who this is. Is it
this
Princess
is
Tennis?
This is Mankichi from... Oh god, how do I... Otoko Apiki Gaki Daisho. Okay. This is one of the first series they've ever had, and the literal first series to ever get adapted into an anime.
Huh.
It's a
real legacy pick.
Yeah, it's also a character from the first ever Jump game with the NES. I don't even remember what type of game it was. Somebody told me it was a tactics game, and I just believed them because I didn't fucking know. Essentially, he's just a delinquent, and he kind of has some like gag aspects, but he is basically the generic brawler archetype. Because we have a lot of brawlers on here, right? We have a lot of characters that throw hands, like Itadori and Deku and All Might and stuff. But Mankichi is the de facto generic brawler, easy to learn character in my eyes, because he is just a guy. He is just a delinquent. He's known for brawling, and he just wants to be the best fighter. Like, I think that he fits very well here.
Oh, it's I just looked it up. It's an RPG.
It is an RPG? Okay.
Yeah, made by Tosei as well, which is pretty cool. I think I've read the crossover manga that they made for this, like a very brief one shot. It's like about a Shonen Jump fan being pulled into Kingdom Hearts style, the Shonen Jump world.
This series is also very weird to me because it's a series that they constantly reference in like their crossover stuff, but never do. Because they referenced it in like J-Stars, and they have it in almost every single promotional art. Like,
what, Otoko?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, in a lot of series, like, when they do, like, promotional art for, like, anniversaries, they're like, hey, look at all the shit that we have. Sometimes they just forget, like, obvious characters, like, or obvious or popular characters that were niche. Like, sometimes they'll forget, like, Hitman Reborn or D. Greyman or something like that. He's always there. He is there every single time.
Yeah,
he's consistent, Matt. It's weird.
I guess it is like the first really popular series that Jump had.
Yeah, I did consider other characters for this role. I considered Cobra, with Space Cobra, I believe is the full series name.
Yeah,
and
Space Cobra.
The Cowboy series Isamu, and I'm blanking on the name, unfortunately. We were literally talking about it last night. No, what was it? Stop Hibari-kun, that was the other one. Those were the other ones that were in contention for the spot, and I just ended up going with Mankichi because I think his importance and lack of representation warrants being more represented in modern media. So, yeah, if you want to reveal the next goober, emphasis on goober, John Wick.
Hey,
it's John Wick.
Yeah,
it's old man John Wick. We talked about him. This is the third time, right?
Yeah. It wasn't on my roster, but I talked about him when it got brought up. So
Yeah, Sakamoto Days is one of the more popular series that they currently have going. I feel like it should be here, and I also didn't have a gunman, like just a guy with a gun, a gun kata as you would call it, a weapon specialist. So I just opted to go with him because he's the current popular one. So yeah, next up. Yeah, this is my favorite character Shonen Jump owns.
Hey.
I really like Assassination Classroom. I'm happy we got the Ass Class Sweep. Hashtag Ass Class Sweep. He's rife for potential animation and combat scenarios with his multiple arms and multitude of abilities. He's great. Yeah, this next one is also pretty irrelevant, or not well known. Doing research, I found out about a more recent series called Magu-chan God of Destruction.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I actually really liked it. It was really cute.
Good.
Yeah, it's really good. I hope it gets adapted someday. This was my go-to for like a puppet fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can have like Magu and Ruru both fight in this. And I feel like you could just do a lot with them as a conceptual puppet fighter. Because that makes them different from just an overall summoner.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured no one else would do it, so I was like, fuck yeah, I'm doing it. That's this one's mine.
I would have loved to do Magu-chan if the manga was still going or there was an anime adapted. I would have probably considered it.
Yeah, it's such a weird series because if I remember correctly, it ran during COVID and it like got a full run in the thing in WSJ, and they just ended it on their own.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's like at the time it felt like it was like I was like, oh, is it being cancelled or not? But it got like a good 80-something chapters, and it has like a pretty conclusive ending point.
Yeah.
So it's hard to. This is the thing with Shonen Jump. A lot of people like to say if something doesn't hit like 200 chapters or some nonsense, then it was
failed.
cancelled.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, I feel like if it at least makes it over a year, you can sort of tell whether or not if it was their choice or not. And I think in Magu-chan's case, it was the choice of the author to start wrapping it up. I mean, there is only so much you can do with a slice of life gag series.
Yeah, it lasted a good while. It lasted over a year, and it just was in that COVID era, so it might have ended earlier because the guy just decided to end it.
Yeah.
But it's a good series. I would totally recommend it. It's really fun. It's really cute.
I'd want a feel-good anime from it. It's the biggest crime. It ended before it could get a good anime adaptation.
Yeah. I hope it gets it. It deserves it. But anyway, next up is...
Hey, Fuko.
Yeah, we discussed Undead Unluck every time so far, and it is probably their biggest new series, like new. And
yeah, it is basically like currently, if we're considering current manga stuff, Undead Unluck is one of the consistently most popular series running in current Shonen Jump.
Yeah, I opted for Fuko instead of a combination of the characters. Well, I do think a combination works and is probably the more unique moveset. I didn't want to steal that idea, so I wanted to do something different. So that's why I just opted to go with Fuko, because she is also I believe that she's just straight up the most popular modern female character lead.
Yeah, this is the thing with Fuko. It's like in current Undead Unluck manga, as of like basically a year and a half ago, she's like gone from being like a pretty decent protagonist alongside Andy to being like possibly the best written female protagonist in shonen manga at this point.
Yeah.
Like, she's easily the most popular character in the series. And it helps that Undead Unluck has been nothing but absolute banger after banger of an arc for the past year.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I am not caught up on Undead Unluck. I cannot wait to get back into it.
Yeah, you should. It's the thing I read first every week, even before One Piece, because it's just that good.
Yeah, Undead Unluck is one of those series that I didn't read in my research because I absorbed enough of it through osmosis via you guys that I like knew enough to justify a choice in it. It's just I don't know if it's for me. I haven't given it a shot yet. I'll probably wait for the anime to finish its season if it's still running.
Man, can I just say, it is crazy that Undead Unluck got here from that start, which is like...
Yes, I know.
That start, like, the first 10 chapters of Undead Unluck is genuinely some of the worst shonen manga that I've ever read. It is borderline offensive bad for the first, like, 5 chapters, and then it starts picking up steam, and it rapidly becomes one of the best shonen manga that I've ever read.
Yeah, it's got a super rough start. And when the anime was starting, I was having to tell people like,
drop the ecchi. It's as soon as it drops the ecchi, it gets so much better.
It's like when the anime was starting, I was just telling people, look, it's gonna be a bit rough, but get to at least episode 4 or 5, and you'll watch. It will start picking up.
This is a rom-com with awesome fight scenes. Just trust me. It's not what it looks like.
Damn, it's a shame. It's a shame that you say that it had one of the worst starts. And it, like you said, that the start of it is one of the worst that you've ever read. Man, it's a shame that you say that because if I remember correctly, you read a bit of Naruto, which is objectively awful.
I've been interested in rereading Naruto. I've come to a realization that some series, when I was reading them weekly, are actually way more enjoyable if I read them in bulk. I'm wondering if Naruto is one of them.
That's what I do with manga when I read it. I read it in bulk because, Jesus Christ, reading it week to week makes everything feel so much longer.
Oh, I know.
We need to start wrapping up. But before we move on to the next character, I just want to say, as a Bleach fan, I'm so thankful that I did not get into Bleach until I was a teenager and most of the manga was already out, and I got into it through the manga and not the anime, because I would not have gotten through the anime.
I think the best way I can point at why manga isn't my preferred way to absorb anything is because, like, hey, what's the main arc in JJK that was this season? It was like
arc.
No, this season of the anime.
Yeah,
Shibuya arc.
Oh, Shibuya, okay. Sorry, I misheard you. Yeah, that shit lasted more than, like, a year and a half in WSJ, and I'm sorry, if an arc runs that long for something that you're publishing weekly, that's too long. Break it up into 2.
I mean, I'm a One Piece reader. I was reading manga for, like, the entirety of COVID and beyond.
Yeah, Shibuya arc is actually very brief for an arc of its importance and, like, relative length in terms of, like, a big, long-running shonen manga like this. Luffy has been fighting the same big bad guy for the last, like, 4 years.
Yeah, it's finished now. That arc is final. It finished. Yeah.
He's finally dead! We killed him!
I think
we were in
Hueco
Mundo for, like, 6 years.
It's
okay.
True.
If we're ready to move on, reveal the next 2 because they're repeats.
Yeah, we should be speeding this up a bit. It's taking a bit longer.
Oh shit, I forgot. Yeah. Well, they are repeats, but you were supposed to start at the bottom. Might as well just do those 2 as well. Oh.
Wait, you did these out in the wrong way.
Oh, did I put... I fucked it up. I must have fucked it up. Oh no.
So will it be the third one then?
Yeah, reveal 30 as well.
There we go.
Shit.
I love gambling.
Yeah. Okay, well, Kenshiro, Gon, Asta, Denji, hi, they're friends. We talked about them already. Fuck them.
But actually, alright, Jolene, you've got Jolene here.
Yeah, I asked a friend of mine IRL, like, hey, what would you do for JoJo's if you only had 3 characters? Because I'm not a JoJo guy, and I didn't want to do Jotaro Dio because that's just... They do that every time. They do it every time.
They do it every time.
And he said if you do 3, it should be a character from before 3, a character from after 3, and then either Jotaro or Dio. And Jolene is relevant because the recent anime, female lead. Granted, I know that she's not the most popular in the community and all, but, like, she has enough going on to justify it. Female lead, popular, relevant, and new character for a series. That's kind of enough for me.
Yeah, I think realistically, Jolene is probably the choice they'd go to. Like, they chose Giorno for Jump Force because Part 5 was the most relevant anime at that point in time. They went for Joseph and Jonathan in J-Stars because the JoJo anime had just started, so those were the two relevant characters at the time.
Yeah, if they did, like... I don't know if they would, like, how many characters JoJo's would get, because, frankly, it's really weird to discuss, like, hypotheticals, because there's this company owns too much shit. They own too much content.
It's one is definite, 2 is a possibility, I'd say. 3 if you could include DLC. I don't know if they'd go beyond that. I think it kind of depends as well on what part you cover. Like, you could feasibly, I think, get away with just having Jolene, or maybe having Jolene and Jotaro, just to have him there, because he's still relevant in Part 6. Yeah. And then nobody else from that part. Whereas, like, if you were to do Part 7 instead, you'd probably do Gyro, maybe?
Is Part 7 not in Jump?
So Part 7 started off in Jump.
Okay,
the first few...
And then it moved, like, a third.
Very quickly, yeah.
Yeah, also, I brought this up with Creeks earlier. The hardest part about this roster is Shonen Jump has created so many IPs that have exploded post-Jump Force that you kind of have to justify them being added, and you kind of have to justify them getting multiple characters because they've never been done before. So, like...
Yeah. That is a big problem. Like, because we don't get anime games as frequently as we used to.
Yeah.
Like, Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen have significantly less a video game presence than anything like Naruto or Bleach or One Piece ever did. So it feels like they need it here.
It makes it really hard because you want to bring back the mainstays, you want to add new characters to the big old series, and you want to add the new series and you want to give them multiple reps because they haven't been done before. Like JJK, Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer, Undead Unluck. So many, none of those series have anybody. And like Black Clover had one character.
Yeah. Even like wasn't there no My Hero Academia in the base roster for Jump
Just
Force?
Deku.
Was it just Deku?
I think it was just Deku.
Couldn't remember if it was DLC or not. I know that they added. I know that All Might and Bakugo got added, but
yeah. And Todoroki.
And Todoroki, okay. But I always thought that was weird when it came out.
Okay, and next up is I wanted to represent some older IPs here, and I like representing some series without the main character. And this is him. This guy is fascinating. I don't know much about D. Gray Man, but this guy is fucking cool. This guy is awesome.
I wish I remembered more about the Millennium L.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, he is like the shtick of being a demon or creating demons, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and he's like he definitely is like the leader of them, or he is the one who creates the Akuma. There's a lot of stuff going on with the Millennium L that the series hasn't even fully fleshed out yet. So it's tough. It's hard for me to comment. D. Gray Man's a weird series because it's released like fucking 20 chapters in the last decade, so it's difficult to keep up with it.
Yeah. Also, with how many of these series have demons or basically demons, like Bleach, Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man, Black Clover, JJK. It makes sense to have a few demons on here for like banter potential.
Mm-hmm.
So I like
Millennium L will definitely have really good banter potential.
Yeah, this is the character that when I found out about, I was like, that's the guy. I'm putting him on. I don't care if this is the only D. Gray Man rep. This is the guy. So next up we have the Goober.
Oh boy.
This is how we get him playable, fellas. Death Note is one of the biggest series that they own that have never been playable, and it has been playable for a fucking obvious reason. He doesn't work, but I figured out a way around it. the match starts, Light arrives, and like my idea is that this game, like some god or something, like brought all these characters into the same universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, Light came with the Death Note, and at the start of the fight, he approaches his opponent and writes down in the Death Note, reveal the next character's link.
That's what he writes in the Death Note?
He writes in the Death Note, Ryuk beats you to death. And yeah, that's how he's playable. Ryuk is playable. Does it make sense? No.
No.
Go with it.
No.
I want everybody to know I was told beforehand that this was going to happen. I attempted for like 2 seconds to tell him that Ryuk that does not do that.
Oh,
And
I
he
know,
just
it
was
doesn't
like,
work.
He was like, yeah, no, I know, I don't care.
Look, I wanted to do this because I wanted to do this build-up bit because it's just funny. This is
It is
content.
really funny.
Does it work? No.
No.
I just wanted to say, Light writes in the Death Note, Ryuk beats you to death. And that's how the fight happens.
This is incredibly funny. I approve. I approve wholeheartedly.
Great bit.
Good
Good bit, good bit. All right, next up. Yeah, I love Promise Neverland. Promise Neverland is my favorite series they own. Like, no shot.
That's a rare opinion nowadays.
Yeah, it got a little less consistent towards the end, but I still love it. That beginning part, like
The
season
beginning
1
is
of the
very
anime.
strong. Season 1, everything covered in season 1 of the anime is
specify
pretty good.
Not the anime.
And then it's like,
specify not the anime. Specify not the anime.
Oh yeah, don't
No,
watch the second season of the anime.
Yeah, don't watch-
Absolutely worst
yeah.
thing I've seen.
Season 1 of the anime is great. Season 2 of the anime is hot garbage.
Let me put this into perspective. Season 1 of the anime, I think, is the best horror animated thing I've seen. Okay?
Mhm.
Season 2 is like bottom 5 shows I've seen. Not anime, not horror, shows. It is that bad. It's awful. Don't watch season 2. Watch season 1 and either take that as the end or go to the manga.
Yeah, the
Because
manga
holy shit.
also gets pretty bad as it goes on, I think. It sort of, after the arc that Lewis is in, it just starts to sort of lose the plot, I think, a little bit.
I would say
Becomes less interesting.
once the bunker gets invaded, that's when it starts losing it. But
I mean, that's basically after this arc.
Yeah, fair.
They get, yeah.
I don't think it ever gets bad. I just think it becomes a different series, like a different genre, because it becomes like a battle shonen eventually.
Yeah, it becomes
and,
a battle shooter shonen.
and this series also has a similar problem that I feel for like MHA, where I feel like the editor or higher ups might have fucked it, because it feels like it kind of like when you're reading it and you see the series go on, it kind of feels like the writer was told, hey, wrap this up.
I mean,
you know,
maybe it's hard to say because like there was foreshadowing. Because as someone who read Promised Neverland since chapter 1 and read it weekly, there was like foreshadowing for some of the bad stuff that was going to happen from interviews and stuff. Like the authors basically turned around halfway through the first arc and was like, "Oh, by the way, when they escape, it will be a battle shonen from here on out." And everyone was like, "What the fuck?" Because everyone liked it for this weird psychological horror thing it was.
Yeah, I still like it when it's a battle shonen. It's just like the last third of it. It really feels like they were like, okay, you need to finish this up by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think it was just getting significantly less popular. I think the way that they revealed the third friend was still alive in the manga is like really out of nowhere and abrupt.
Yeah,
Still better than how the manga did it, but I mean the anime did it, but it's still a problem.
They at least alluded to it.
I mean,
So,
no one
like-
really believed he was dead, but
Yeah, nobody did.
the reveal just suddenly happened, and we're like, oh wait, oh okay.
Yeah, but anyway, in regards to Luvis, like I said, these three, if you notice, these are the demons. They're offer a lot of potential because of that, and Luvis has a friend called Palvis, who is a funny cat. And he also has like he has a bunch of weapons. He can extend his fingers. He has demon physiology. He's just really strong. He has a lot of potential for a fighting game, and I feel like this one is my favorite character in terms of banter and shit, because explicitly his thing in the manga is a poacher to collect humans to consume for the higher, like, rich people, and he loves hunting. And I feel like that offers a lot, because he, like, the idea that you can do is that he's hunting these characters. So, yeah. In the end, I love Promised Neverland. Give it a shot. My favorite series that they own. Anyway, next up is Medaka.
Oh shit, nice.
Yeah, female lead, and a friend of mine actually really likes this series for the complexities of Medaka as a character, which is a weird fucking thing to say, because knowing what that series is.
Medaka Box is a really good series. It's a shame that the anime stops right before it actually becomes good.
Yeah,
Like, early Medaka Box is kind of whatever, and then it suddenly like shoots up and becomes really good before peaking out at the end.
From what I heard about Medaka is that the character is usually interpreted as like the super unkillable, super strong fucker, and that's all that people see her for like that power set when she's a character beyond that, and that's how she wins a lot of her fights. And I find that dichotomy really interesting, because that is how the public sees her. The public only sees her as woman shonen character, booba, and power set.
Yeah,
and it's,
I mean, Medaka's
pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, Medaka's like a big breakdown of shonen series. Like, Medaka's whole thing is that she like quite literally has plot armor. Like it tangible, actual plot armor is what powers her. And it's really fun. Like, when the series gets good is when it actually starts to actively take that apart.
Yeah.
And break apart usual shonen tropes. Yeah, her power is that she is the protagonist of a shonen manga. That's it.
Yeah, basically. Well, moving on, the next Giblet head. I'm kind of surprised I was the only person to do Rao.
Are you that surprised?
Yeah, as popular and big as Fist of the North Star is, it should have two characters.
He's a cool character. Fist of the North Star deserves it. It's just press for time, you know?
Yeah.
Not press for time, press for space.
But yeah, somebody did Rao. I remembered Fist of the North Star. I've never read or watched it, but I remembered it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, next up, we've talked about this guy a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, it's Killua from Killua's Wild Adventure. He's Killua.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Dio from Dio's deranged dysentery tirades. I couldn't think of a synonym for adventure that started with D, okay? So I chose dysentery. Roboco, popular, relevant, recent, has swaths of moveset potential because she's reference machine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we talked about him. Next up is Senku. But I'm gonna make a last second change because I wanted somebody to do Senku. Nanten did Senku, so I'm gonna pick a new character who nobody else has done.
Okay.
What is?
It will be.
Jaguar. Okay. Jaguar is a character that has the ability to basically create things from his flute, if I remember correctly. Recorder.
Yeah, from his recorder.
Yeah, he has the ability to, like, basically create... God damn it, Dio's Dastardly Deeds works. Shit, why didn't you say that earlier, Dusty? God damn it. Yeah, Jaguar basically has the ability to create things with his flute, and I feel like that adds a lot, because apparently his series is an action series, which is just wild to me because it's about a guy teaching a class the recorder.
I thought it was a gag series. I didn't realize it was an action series.
Yeah, it's a mix of like gag, coming of age, slice of life, action. And I read that description on Wikipedia and I'm like, what the fuck is this? How are you all of those things?
Man, the anime for it is made in Flash. Wow.
Wait, what? Okay.
That's into the series of Flash OVAs and then a
That
movie.
sounds really funny. Yeah, you could also work with Jaguar as like a rhythm character by having like his moves get powered up if you do it to the rhythm.
Mhm.
He just has a lot of options, especially with that ability to create shit. Like, hell, you could have him create other characters for like supers. Like,
Characters who aren't in the game.
yeah,
otherwise.
like who's a major character that we don't have yet? He creates Suna with his creates Suna, sure.
That's how we get Sooner in the game.
He's here
He's
in
here as a part
spirit
of
form.
Jaguar. This is how you get all the other gag characters like Lucky Man. and-
You know what? That makes more sense
yeah.
instead of degrading Hitman. I chose Hitman at random because someone mentioned it. Somebody mentioned it earlier,
This,
so
this how you
that's
get,
why I went with it.
this how you get Isobe in. Isobe was a character I almost considered because, like, but he's such a weird character. He's like the gag series, the Japan only gag series that they did, where it all looks like one of those traditional Japanese paintings.
Oh, that one!
Yeah, that ran between J-Star's Victory Versus and then like COVID beginning, basically. And so it's
Yeah.
never had a chance to appear in anything ever. But I just learned literally nothing about it other than how it looks.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I remember posting in the group chat like just some random fucking weird series I found out about, and gotta say, that one starring the statue of David, I need to read that because what the fuck is? It's just a romance starring the statue of David.
Based.
Why?
He does have a good figure.
Okay. Slink, are we good for the next one?
Hey.
Hey, somebody did Witch Watch. She's a witch. She has witch powers. I didn't get too far into Witch Watch because I was just pressed for time, but as I said before, it's weird that no romance series has been represented, and this is the one I opted for, because the other big ones were like Nisekoi, To Love Ru, and oh god, there was a third one.
Blue Box?
Yeah, I think it was Blue Box. To Love Ru, I found out was basically porn and decided not to do it.
It's To Love Ru Darkness.
Yeah, I was like, no, not doing that.
I was the person that had to break it to him.
It was him. I just went on Wikipedia and read demon powers, female.
I just saw that he had.
rom-com.
I was like, hey, isn't that the cringe assist from J-Star's Victory Versus?
Yeah, she's in
And I
J-Star's
remember-
Victory, isn't
I was
she?
like, oh god, yeah, no, that is he has Lala the Rustler. I should probably warn him.
Yeah, I decided to axe them for that. And then the other options were Blue Box, which I just don't think has a lot of moveset potential. And then Nisekoi. Fuck Nisekoi.
Yeah, fair.
So I went with Witch Watch because I read like the first 10 chapters or so. It's okay. I liked it well enough. I'm not big into rom-coms in general, but it was fine.
Yeah, Witch Watch is a fun gag romance battle series.
Yeah.
It's like you could use the titular Witch Watch alongside Nico in her moveset, and that would work. I considered Nico, but again, no anime adaptation sort of pushed me away from doing it. Bo was in one of these rosters.
Yeah, I was literally typing in chat. The previous one did.
Yeah.
Like, we had 3 rosters. Bobobo was on one of them.
I mean, Nico has magic, though, so Nico has the more interesting moveset potential compared to Morihito, who is a punchy punch guy.
Yeah, Morihito is just strong guy. Like, even more so than the others. He just has the power of, like, an Oni, right?
Yeah, he's a demon. Yeah, he's an Oni. Japanese.
Yeah,
version.
that's not very interesting in comparison to a character that... They could be like an incidental fighter, where they don't traditionally fight, and they just make things happen, like Ace Attorney. Phoenix Wright in Marvel vs. Capcom.
Smash, yeah.
Yeah, except for she has, like, more fighting potential because she's a witch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. What we got all that next?
Yeah, wrapping up, I like MASH. Mashal's fun. Like I said during Nanten's, I like the idea of making him use, like, magic equipment incorrectly. Like, use the wand as, like, a stick, throw the broom, use potions by not actually using them, but just mixing ingredients together and throwing it. And he can breakdance to create tornadoes, which is a thing he can do for some reason.
Yo.
He can also rub his hands fast enough to create fire.
I mean, there's a lot of things he can do for no reason.
Yeah.
That's the least of the insane shit MASH gets up to.
Mashal's fun. It'd be a fun choice. Next up, I saw a lot of people bringing this goober up. Why do I keep saying goober?
There we go. Someone has him.
I did I don't know much about Black Clover. I asked a friend of mine, hey, who is like the second Black Clover character you'd pick? And they went on like an hour-long tirade as to why it should be Yuno.
Yeah.
So I just went with Yuno. And doing a character in a series steeped in magic, because the gimmick behind Asta is he's a guy in a magic world without magic. Having one of the characters be a mage kind of works. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Anyway, next up, we got the sweep. We got the epic sweep, baby. We got the epic sweep. Let's go!
Shit!
Holy shit, it's...
represent the new stuff.
Takarabachi! Let's go!
Got to get that edge in there.
Yeah, the last one is, yeah, it's power. Chainsaw Man introduced some of the most popular female characters this company has ever had. I wanted to do Aki because I like Aki, but I have Megami. He does the same thing. And doing a non-female character for a series known for female characters just felt wrong. And Power is the one that I think would have a fun moveset. Because the other options were like Reize and Makima. And Makima I don't like as a fighter, and Reize I just don't like. So
the other option, I guess, would be Asa, but if you wanted to go into part 2 territory...
What character were you saying?
Asa from part 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Asa. I'm going to be honest with you. I watched Chainsaw Man because everybody was recommending it to me, and I didn't really vibe with it, and I decided to read it.
Mm-hmm.
Still didn't really like part 1. I like part 2 way more. I would have done Asa if it wasn't for the fact that they weren't Jump. Because I didn't know if they counted, and I just didn't want to go into there.
Yeah, it's one of those, I guess, weird ones. You'd have to really think about it. Yeah, she's not technically Shonen Jump, you're right.
Yeah, I just let it be known, I would have done Asa probably as my secondary choice. Because, again, I like part 2. I don't really care for part 1. Asa would have been the choice I'd gone with, but Power has a more interesting moveset potential. More popular, more relevant, and is Shonen Jump.
Alright, I think that wraps it up. The stream went on way longer than I thought, even with my blunder at the start.
Yeah, to be fair, like
delayed.
40 minutes at the start was just technical difficulties. This only lasted like 3 hours.
3 hours and a half, still.
It says 3.5 hours on my side.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I started the stream at the original stream at like 5 to 3. And it's now 7 o'clock for me. So
Okay, so we're wrapping up now?
yes,
Yep.
we're wrapping up.
No,
now.
we're not.
Oh fuck. Oh please no.
Secret 4th roster.
Oh, no.
Let's go. Let's
Keep
go.
it as 4 of 3. Keep it as 4 as 3.
I was planning to. Secret
Good.
fourth roster. Secret fourth roster.
Go
Secret
speedrun.
fourth roster. Okay, we got Luffy.
Okay.
And then we got Zoro. Then we have Boruto. Most important character from that series. Ichigo and Rukia. But I wanted to include a third Bleach character. Most important Bleach character. Grimjow.
Hell yeah. Mid-2000s all over again. Let's go.
Oh, the Grimjow mission.
It's Grimjow from the Grimjow mission. The mission where Grimjow is there. We got Deku and All Might. However, I am not a coward like Huff over here. We got him. We got the Kagurabachi. Let's go. Let's go. All right. I also have Tanjiro and Nezuko, Itadori and Gojo, Power, Asta, Gon, but I brought him up earlier. Only other Hunter x Hunter character I want, my man Leorio, the best, the coolest.
Wait, slang pause. Slang pause.
Yeah.
I think the stream is buffering.
It's fine.
It's fine on my end.
Is it fine on your side?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just you.
Just my side then.
Just you, buddy. And then to round out this row, we
Good.
got.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we work.
Jintoki. So, I'm the big JoJo fan. So I wanted to include Jonathan. You know where it all started. He's a bit of a plain character, but he's got like a heart of gold.
It's Jonathan.
Is the stream fine? Can people say if the stream is fine? Somebody said the stream Leorio's too strong for the stream to handle. Is everything okay?
No, yeah, everything's fine on my end.
Okay.
I think they're just reacting to what Huff said.
Okay. All right.
Keep it up.
Okay.
Pace is good. Pace
Joseph Joestar. Yeah, that's right. I'm including one character from every part in Weekly Shonen Jump. We got Jotaro. We got Josuke. We've got the real protagonist of Part 5, Bruno Bucciarati.
Hell yeah, let's go.
And now for Part 6, I fucking hate Jolene, so we have Jotaro Part 6. And then we got Rohan, very important to the franchise, and also the most important character to the franchise, Whole Horse.
Oh shit. Really representing every series, even the spin-offs.
And then we have Bao.
Nice.
What did...
I don't even know if
what-
that got picked up.
No, it didn't. What did you scream? What
Yeah,
were
I
you
just
doing?
screamed, "Yo, we got a whole horse! We got a whole ass horse!"
Yeah. All right, there's our row of JoJo and Bao. So next up we got Kenshiro and Sakuragi. We've also got Kuroko. Did they come up
Iconic
earlier? I don't
Kuroko.
remember.
Yeah, Kuroko no basket.
Yeah. I love basketball. Now we have Bobobo from Bobobo. And also, joining him is his partner in crime,
Yugimoto.
Yugimoto.
Can they be like a Zelda and Sheik situation where
No,
Bobobo summons
no.
Yugi and then Yugi
But-
can summon Bobobo for a card?
When they are both like chosen for a team, they have a special team super attack where it is that.
I think they have that in Jump Ultimate Stars as well.
Swap Josuke out for Josuke. Alright, we got Seto Kaiba, and I have also included Cobra. Purely because he got brought up earlier and I thought it would be funny. I've also got Mazinger Z.
No, that one's illegal. You can't.
It
That's
is illegal. It is illegal. Who put this?
Replace him with
we got
Man J.
Yotes.
Replace him with Kagurabachi again.
Again! Fuck it. Let's go.
I had Cat's Eye, so it's close. Fleamon.
Let's go. All right, now we got the DLC. We got Yusuke. We got Rao. We got Sakamoto. Tsubasa. Hitomi. Boruto's dad. Koro Sensei.
I'm really happy you used that one.
Yeah.
I love that image so much.
All right, and to round it off, we have our 9th JoJo character.
Yeah, that's him.
Wait, I see nothing wrong with this image.
Okay, I think that wraps it up. I do have one last little surprise here.
Yeah, what's up?
Just to flex a little bit, I decided to make a little bit of a bigger roster to like add some characters because people would question where some of them are. If you just want to pop this on screen, we don't have to discuss anything now.
Sure.
Sure, I guess.
Yeah, I just figured we'd knock it out because it'll be really quick.
Cool.
Yeah, there's the fuckers.
Yep. There they are. There's Piccolo.
Yep. Shout out to Hades, everybody's favorite fucking character from Saint Seiya. Everybody loves Hades.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all for watching our stream. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, if you want to support us, check out our Patreon in the description. As always, thank you to all of our lovely patrons on screen right now. We appreciate all of you, and you help us do the stuff that we do. Have a nice rest of your day, and always remember to return to the source.
Or night.
Or night.